Hey guys, welcome back to Weeb Seen It, episode number 9. My name's Cam,
I'm Jimmy.
and let's get right into the episode. And we're back. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for watching our last episode, and thanks for watching this episode if you're watching. It's been, like a week now? I think exactly.
Yeah, we've actually been good about our recording schedule.
We've done it 2 weeks in a row for the first time in, I don't know, not that long. In probably
Like
three
3
episodes.
weeks, yeah.
Yeah, nothing, too exciting this week happened. It was a pretty relaxing week. I still, unfortunately, did not manage to catch up on all the extra anime.
Yeah.
Just because I started a book series. And then, we're getting ready for a specific D&D campaign, which I've been looking a lot into, so it takes a lot of my time.
Yeah, you've been going hard on that.
As you, I'm sure, also have, being the DM and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been reading up on all the lore to the same degree you have, going through the Drizzt novels, but
I just want to be knowledgeable when we get there.
yeah, I feel kind of bad that I changed the starting 10 on you, too.
I don't know if there's a huge crossover between anime and D&D, but if you're watching this and you haven't played D&D, gather up a group of your favorite weebs and try it out.
I mean, I'll say it again. I mean, Goblin Slayer is literally just a vindictive D&D campaign. So.
It's true. Even a lot of things now, like King's Raid, that's basically just D&D. They got each of the specific classes, and they're
you're not wrong.
known by their classes too.
I mean, Goblin Slayer specifically, though, at the start, they're like, fill out your form, and it's a freaking character sheet.
Yeah, it's true.
So.
Plus, their names are just their class.
Yeah,
they're
true.
no names in this show. But yeah, if you haven't tried it, get some of your friends together. If you like anime, you'll probably like D&D.
Yeah, it's been catching on a lot more recently, so there's a lot more people playing, and there's a lot more resources available.
Anime, actually, the two of them have both hit a major resurgence. I feel like D&D came more from the COVID, with everyone staying home. A lot of people started playing online, talking to friends more. I'm sure anime also had a big watch. Like, a lot of people probably went back to anime if they hadn't seen in a while during COVID to rewatch old series. But it also, because of COVID, also slowed down some of the future series we're going to get, like free.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a good time to catch up on everything.
It was a great time to catch up on anime. But yeah, we are caught up on anime. Today we're going to be talking about, I think, the same 7 shows as last week?
Yeah, we've got the same core anime going through. I don't think there was any huge shakeups in the other series.
No, not that I know of. We still have a few weeks, I think 2 or 3 weeks until something like Attack on Titan starts. And then probably only a week away from getting more information on other series that start.
Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't seen more announcements, actually. Normally, we'd get a lot more at this point.
Yeah, I thought so too. But it could be for all we know, it's only going to be 2 different shows are coming out big, and some of these shows are going to continue on.
Yeah,
I think Jujutsu is probably going to continue.
Jujutsu's probably going to carry on. I feel like Fire Force might take a break.
Fire Force might, because it'll be done episode 25 by that point. I think that we're going to have to wait a whole another year or two to get the next season of that.
I mean, if they just take a season off, I mean, I feel like they could use it at this point.
Yeah, I don't remember what the length of the break was between Fire Force season 1 and season 2, but I feel like it'll be about the same, which is probably about a year.
Yeah, I feel like it wasn't that long, but I might just be condensing it a little bit in my mind.
Yeah, time flies, so it's kind of hard to figure
true.
it out. The only other one I can think of that might go on longer, I mean, could be King's Raid, but that's just because I have there's nothing to base it on. A lot of these are I don't think Noblesse is going to go on just for the fact of the other Crunchyroll originals we've seen have all been about the 13.
Yeah, things like God of High School and Tower of God didn't go on, even though they were the heavier hitters.
Yeah, and I really don't think Don Machi, the other 2 seasons, have both been around a 13 episode or 12 or something along those lines.
Yeah, they do the 13 episode split into 2.
Yeah, so just based off that, Million Lives, I don't know. That's another one that we don't really know because we don't have something else to base it off. But I don't know if they'll go full 25.
I feel like this is going to be one that's a 13 episode, and they're going to hope for a season 2.
Yeah, I don't know if they have the hype for a full 25 episode series.
That's the problem with isekais. They hype it up, and then you just never get the second season. So
yeah, I mean, that's because there's so many of them. There has to be something really special. And nowadays, each isekai tries to come out with something that makes it different, but it's really gambling if it's going to hit or miss.
Yeah, I mean, even some of the bigger ones, like No Game No Life and Death March in a Parallel World.
You don't want to talk about No Game No Life not getting a season 2. That'll make the entire community mad.
I mean,
it got a movie.
Yeah. So did Goblin Slayer. That should tell you a lot.
Yeah, that's true. I actually haven't seen the Goblin Slayer movie, nor have I seen the Kimetsu no Yaiba movie, the Demon Slayer movie, which is
forgot
new.
that had come out.
Yeah, I've seen. I watched them, but I saw on my feed a bunch of reviews and stuff came out for it, and I was like, that's probably I don't typically love anime movies, continuing, especially if they're in canon with the anime. Right. One of the reasons I always liked the Pokemon movies is because they were barely ever canon, so they didn't matter.
True.
But stuff even the My Hero movies, they were okay, but they weren't anything special for the most part.
Yeah, it was kind of hard fitting them into the canon.
Yeah, they never really fit in anywhere really nice, which is kind of strange. But the Demon Slayer is exactly where it's supposed to be. Yeah, they literally end the first season on the train.
It's a direct continuation. I will admit, this is one of the better arcs in my opinion. So I am kind of excited to see the movie.
Yeah, it's not. You cannot go to Demon Slayer season 2 without watching the movie.
Yeah.
And have it still make perfect sense. Like,
you would be missing a lot.
It's very different for an anime movie. So I want to watch that soon. I don't know what the situation on it is looking like watching it in English right now. Yeah, like I figured they'd eventually put it on Crunchyroll, but they haven't yet.
I know Funimation's been doing a lot of movie streaming, so
that's true. I mean, obviously, I could go to the web and find it super legally. I'm sure. But I think I'll just, I pay for all my services, so I think I'll just wait to the Funimation or Crunchyroll to get it.
Yes, they'll eventually dub it officially, and then it'll be available on both. So
yeah, which, I won't watch it dubbed, but once they do that, it means at least they'll have it on there with English subs as well. So
it's not always a horrible thing watching something dubbed.
It's not, but it would be really offsetting for me too, because like I've never seen Demon Slayer dubbed. I'm sure it's good because dub has gotten a lot better than it used to be, but I've never seen it there. So just seeing some of those characters in dubbed would just be kind of like, eh.
Yeah, you can't do what you used to. I remember, I think you were the one who did this with NHK. You watched it one episode subbed, one episode dubbed.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and I liked the subbed way better. That was around the time too where I was just learning to like subbed more than dubbed. Like up until that point, I was definitely like a dub everything kind of guy. Like my new days of anime just starting. A lot of it was probably Greg Ayers, to be honest.
Yeah, he either nails it or just grates on your nerves.
Now, the one thing I'll say, are you watching Haikyuu in subbed or dubbed?
So far subbed.
Okay, in dubbed, he's actually in it. He plays Nishinoya, like the libero, and he actually does a good job. Even Birch, who hates his guts, he's watched it and admit he's like, okay, yeah, he's not bad in that role though. Like he's fine there. I'm like, yeah, see, maybe he's just grown and his voice isn't annoying, or maybe it's just the characters he got mixed with the voice.
True, or I mean, it could even just be that you've gotten used to him over time.
Yeah, I like to think that's not it. But yeah, I don't know. The Demon Slayer movie will be really good. I'm sure that once that actually comes out officially onto a streaming site, we watch it, we'll probably talk about that.
Yeah.
And that could even just be a discussion at the end of the episode, depending on how much stuff we have to talk about in the weekly episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, at this point, we're basically about halfway through most of the shows on this season. We're at the halfway point. This is almost a little bit past normally where we'd quit. So maybe some thoughts on the shows have changed and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
episode 5 and 6 is usually the cutoff point for most people, I find. So.
Yeah, and everything this week is on episode 6, except for Noblesse, which is 5. Yep. So it's definitely around there. Some shows I think have gotten better. Like some of the shows I disliked the most when we started have gotten better now. Sure. And some of the shows that I thought were going to be, the best, I've now actually gotten a little bit more bored of. So it's going to be interesting to talk, so we'll get into it. Before we do, of course, I'm just going to say once again, if you guys are watching, thanks for watching. Make sure you leave a comment. We're still always down for more anime recommendations. There's still shows that are out right now that we're not watching. I see them all the time, and I'm like, hey, maybe I'll watch that. And I'm like, but we have so much. So.
And there are some shows we are watching that we're not actively talking about, so if you want to hear a little bit about that, just let us know. And
some of the shows that are my favorite each week to watch are ones we're not talking about. Like some of the ones I'm looking forward to the most. There's a few of them. So if there's something and you're watching it, we're not talking about it, but you're like, oh, I wish they would, just let us know. It's really easy to do. We read all the comments, obviously. There's not tons of them, so it's really easy for us to go through. We try to respond to all of them. And, other than that, pretty much just enjoy. Keep an eye out for the next episode when it comes out. And then thanks. And I think we're just going to have to open these up to get into the chat. And I don't have any nails today. I bit them all off. There we go. Have a sip. And we get started. Okay. So first episode on the list today is Noblesse episode 5. Episode name?
A Friend's Hand in Fight for ...
Is that fight for ... That's
how it's listed.
For ellipses? Oh my god. Okay. I hate the use of ellipses in pretty much every single context. Especially in the name of an episode.
It can work in dialogue sometimes, but as a title, it just I honestly thought something was wrong with the website.
Yeah, it's purposely trying to be vague because like, what are they fighting for? I mean,
it's going to be fight for your friends or fight for the people you want to protect.
Yeah, typically the thing in anime is always or as Ike would say from Fire Emblem, I fight for my friends is the typical. But I think that's coming from the perspective of like M21 or whatever the hell his name is, and he doesn't even in the episode he does. Step up, but it's still kind of implied that he doesn't really know why. He's just like, oh, I had to give up what I want to help them, and he doesn't acknowledge them as his friends. I think that's where the ellipses come from.
Yeah, I mean, he was being a little bit of a bitch. It's like, oh, I have to put up with this so I can get my friends' names. It's like, do you really think this is what they would want?
Yeah, like, does it really matter if they're dead, what their names are? I understand that's like his whole goal, but there are probably more important things.
Yeah, because I feel like his friends were like more about life, and they're like, "Yeah, don't kill a bunch of people just to find out what our names are." Like,
but yeah, the ellipses definitely comes from the fact where he's not. I don't think he's ready to acknowledge them as friends yet. Yeah. Or Nakama, or companions or anything like that.
Yeah.
One day maybe. Now, we'll start by mentioning that this episode just continues right off from the last one. So basically, he's walking down the room, and then he notices that Shark has captured, the three. He's got Regis Philbin. He's got I can't remember either of the two names.
I can't remember the red hair. I think it starts
with one of his names starts with a T. I know that.
It doesn't actually. It's Manabu.
Oh, well, darn.
I made a point of remembering his name this week, and I was honestly sad when I found it didn't start with a T.
Oh, well, darn. Okay, well, either way. So they walk down. You get to see the reaction we were looking for last week of the Tao realizing that he recognizes the one, and then obviously the other guy's name, which I'm not going to remember. Oh, it's just in my mind. It wasn't Tobio. I don't know. The long purple hair guy recognizing the red-haired character as well. Now, this is actually one of the things I want to talk about is like the episode was one of the least boring to me on the list for the week.
Yeah, they actually brought up the quality a little bit.
And I don't just mean that because I'm a monkey brain who only likes fighting and shonen anime. In general, a lot of it was just that a lot of the anime this week were like fillers or getting ready for the next big arc, so they kind of have to go through slowly. But this week was definitely a little slower and everything. And then this episode, though, was actually good. And I was like, but when we first started, Noblesse was not the thing that we wanted to pick.
Yeah, I mean, Noblesse is very much they've used all the episodes up until now as a build-up, and they're just finally starting to pay it off.
Yeah, which is good. And that's what we want to see, especially because this is probably only going to be a 13-episode anime.
Yeah.
Being almost halfway through, we need to see something happen. And then a lot of it is just fighting. So we have a couple different, pair-ups there. You have Shark fighting the sister when she comes in. I mean, we're assuming sister. I think they said that before.
Yeah, which we finally got to see what he does. And I'm kind of sad that he just throws explosives.
Yeah, he's not like a super strong dude. He's like a bomb guy. He's got like the big bazooka cannon.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff, which is kind of different. We thought he was definitely going to be a go in with brute strength kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to subvert expectations, but really just like throwing explosives when you've got superpowers, it's just kind of a letdown.
Yeah, we expected more. I expected him just punch through walls or like headbutt stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess that's his thing. It's kind of nice to throw people off a little bit.
Yeah, true. Being a specialist is good.
But yeah, we had him. We obviously knew the purple hair guy was a gun guy. We saw that earlier on in the show.
He was fighting. I can't remember if it's Frank or Frankenstein. How they refer to him.
I don't know. It's one of the two. It's definitely it's either probably both. Maybe they call him Frank in the full name Frankenstein. But they fight him, and then there's also. Regis comes up and he refights Shark, and he's obviously winning. And then you finally get to see I think his name's Gran, is what they call him. The leader of their little group finally comes in and pops off.
Yeah, with the immediate betrayal of his own people, by the way.
Well, it's not betrayal though, because that's, as he states, that's what they're there for.
Yeah, they didn't know that though.
No, but I mean that's no, they're in some sort of some pretty evil organization.
I mean,
they should expect that.
True.
But that's okay because no one liked Shark in the world. Obviously, he was literally the member that him and Hammer are like the ones where they're like throwaways. Like they don't really have character.
Yeah.
The Gran has character in like the sense of he's going to be a bad guy, so he's going to have some character to him. Obviously, the purple-haired guy is doing this for his like sister. He's a nice guy, kind of forced into a bad situation.
Yeah. And
then even Tao, who is like the hacker genius, he's kind of growing as a character really early on.
Yeah.
Because of Manabu or whatever his name is.
Yeah, he's definitely shown that he's not dedicated to their cause. He's just kind of there. So
yeah, he's just like, hey, maybe like this is probably just fun to him, as we've seen
Yeah.
from different different times of him meeting up with Manabu or him doing his job.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like an entertainment thing to him, and he probably gets paid well, or he might have something else on the line. But he definitely now is not as invested as like Shark and Hammer, who are just like the bad guys for the sake of being bad.
yeah, I mean,
So obviously now Shark has been like thrown away. He's gone.
yeah, I mean, Shark was always there. I think just to be a power-up enemy. I didn't expect him to get killed by one of his own, but
Yeah, and then Hammer's going to end up like the same way. He's definitely just going to lose to either her or or the Frank is going to finish the fight and come down.
the sister is going to bitch slap him. There's no denying that.
Yeah, as we've seen, even with Shark taking I think they call it D.
Yeah.
I was going to say taking the D. That would have been.
I mean,
true, but interesting phrasing. But yeah, even with him, like he was compared to Regis, even when he took it, he didn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really much they could do about that. Who else? I think that's it. And then the main point that I was excited for is finally, it looked like the main character was going to, or the main character, I don't know.
The main noble?
Yeah, Ray or whatever. It looked like he was finally going to come in and do something, which I'm sure he will next episode, but that is where they cut us off for the week.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling that everything that's been built up so far is going to get kind of tossed away and he's going to bitch slap Gran, but...
I assume, but then how can you have him be the villain if he just gets... Something's got to happen where, like, Their fight is inconclusive.
You've seen Full Metal Panic, right?
Yeah.
Where they keep killing the one guy and he keeps coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling it's going to be that.
Yeah, I feel like something's gonna happen. The battle's gonna be inconclusive, or like he's gonna instead choose just to like leave so that the other kids can go off to safety because this isn't a place to have like a full on battle. It'll be probably too destructive or something like that. So they're just gonna.
True.
I think he's gonna walk in, show how much power he has, like a quick second, just enough for everyone to kind of get out, and then it's gonna be done. And then we're gonna save that for later on in this season.
Just a little flex.
Yeah, just to kind of give us a little hint that he's got some good powers. Obviously, make the enemy a little bit more aware of him, make them a little more scared of him, so they can plan to fight against him later.
Okay.
And then, I don't. Now, are we assuming now we're going to see the Grand Guy just kill a bunch of the other allies? Because now the rest of the allies after Hammer are kind of important story-wise to us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna call him Toby, the purple hair guy, because that's the only name I could assign to him after you said it.
Like Tobio. It was
Tobio.
It was either. It's not Tokyo, but I mean. It was
Tobio and Tao, I'm pretty sure, are going to end up switching sides. I mean, if the ads are anything to go by.
If the ads are showing, I swear, Tao in like a school uniform or hanging out with him at school. Yeah.
Yeah, I finally saw that ad, and it's like, oh, wow, that's a spoiler and a half.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is, his whole if his powers that he like absorbs his friend, like his teammates on Friends.
Yeah.
But then none of his teammates are there. His power then is kind of useless.
I mean, unless he just goes get some other people, feeds them D, and then consumes them.
Maybe. Yeah, I guess maybe he doesn't have to. Maybe he can just give he grabs someone on the street, gives them a pill, and then absorbs them or something like that. But probably wouldn't get as much power.
Because they're all modified humans, right? So I think it has to be a modified human, but apparently there are a lot of those laying around, so...
Yeah, apparently. Even though most of them that we know are dead, except for, their team in M24, as far as we know.
Yeah, true. M21. M24 is the dead one.
M24 is the big bald dude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the good friend. M21 wasn't going to do shit until that M24 ghost came in, put his hand on the shoulder, and
just that
whispered something.
Yeah, just, bruh, don't be a bitch.
Yeah, don't let kids die to learn some dead people's names. Never worth it. I liked the episode overall. I was always happy now that, because Noblesse was definitely one that started off as, being a little slower, kind of one that we were slogging through. We had to watch it to talk about it because it was a Crunchyroll original and is one of the ones we were looking forward to.
Yeah, it definitely owes a lot to the pedigree of the previous two shows. Because if it wasn't for those two, I don't think we would have even given this a second look.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true. Overall, you enjoyed the episode, though?
Yeah, overall.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for next week because I finally want to see what Ray does. I want to see his powers. Obviously, we know we already know he's a Noblesse. We know he's the one who came out of the coffin, the one they're looking for.
Yeah, they haven't exactly been subtle about that. So.
Yeah, so it's going to be cool to see what he does. And I guess we're just going to have to wait to see next week, and that'll be a fun episode to talk about it.
Yeah.
Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Well, let's move on to the next one. Okay, and next up on our list is Wandering Witch Episode 6. Title name.
The Land of Truth Tellers.
Okay, that's a very literal name. That's no surprise.
Straight to the point.
Yeah, okay, so before we get started into discussing just the episode and its events, once again, very much like the last episode in the sense where there was really nothing negative going on. Like, there wasn't anything bad again. There was no darkness like we've seen some of the ones. This one took a very light turn.
It was a little dark and a little twisted if you take a deeper look at the idea of, like, no one in this land can lie at all.
Yeah, that's there's this movie I used to love talking about. It was called The Invention of Lying.
Right.
It was with Ricky Gervais. And it was just like in a world, same place as we are, same universe, same time, all that kind of stuff, except for like people couldn't lie. And then the main character discovered how to lie. He was the first person to do it. And we're looking at like, this was probably like 2014, something like that, like a 2014 setting, just learning how to lie. And it kind of reminded me of this. It was just that it doesn't mean that people are, well, I mean, they took it a little more literally in that one, but it doesn't mean that people are honest or that people are good. It just means that they find different ways to go about doing bad things.
I cannot overtly lie, but I can let you believe whatever you want to believe and just go off that. So.
Yeah, so it literally starts in by Elena going up to the guards, and they explain like, hey, as soon as you enter this this kingdom, you can't lie. They're like, you won't be able to lie at all. Do you still want to go in? She's like, yeah, sounds like I'll make a good story. So she goes in, and the very first thing she does is she buys bread from a lady, that's
that's not the first thing she does.
What does she do before that?
The first thing she does is, I'm going to test to see if I can lie. It's like, she tries to say, I'm not very beautiful, and she can't say it. It's like, really?
Impossible. You know what? I'm more impressed by later when she's testing out the writing. She writes like I'm like twisted or something like that. I was kind of hoping the show was going to let her write it, be like, you can lie on this, but it's actually true. Because instead she wrote like, I have a pure heart. I'm like, well, like I guess that really just depends on your self-reflection.
Yeah, it's how you view yourself. I'm assuming.
Listen, I hate to get deep on people, but no one lies to you more than yourself, and I feel like then she must be the most confident person of all time. to actually be able to look at herself and say that, and then be able to write down to be like, I have a pure heart, and that's actually what she thinks is the truth. After she didn't save anyone in the vine area with the flowers, a pure heart person would probably stop to help every now and then.
I mean, that's a rabbit hole.
But yeah, so one of the first things she does then is she goes and she buys freshly baked bread. The lady doesn't talk to her at all, but it has like a little sign. She's like, "Oh, is this freshly baked?" The lady's like, and then she's like, "Okay," and she buys it and eats. Just like, this bread is like hard. She's like,
this a day old.
She's like, this feels like bread they didn't sell yesterday. But the lady, she affirmed that it was a freshly baked bread, and it just kind of, no one in this city talks basically, because if you talk, you have to tell the truth. So they're all like, well, what's the easiest way to be able to lie? Like, well, just nod and kind of like make hand gestures and stuff like that.
Yeah, because even then, like the sign that says freshly baked, you just have to make it when you actually freshly baked everything.
And keep it out, yeah. So as long as you do that, because she does test out the writing, and you also cannot lie via writing. But yeah, as I said, if the lady could bake the bread, write freshly baked bread, and then keep that sign until the next day. She probably has the same sign written once that every single day you use.
She doesn't have to write a new sign.
Because when she wrote it, it was not a lie. So it's kind of cool in that sense. The main plot of the actual episode is that there's the king, and this was only 6 months ago. He had his kingdom mage there, his like mage assistant, make it so his sword had like this like barrier on it that while you're in the area, as long as he holds it in his dominant hand.
Yeah, as long as you hold the sword in your dominant hand. And the first thing he says to her is like, "Man, this sword is lame." It's like,
he's like, "Oh, this sword's like really, it's too much, and it's so lame." The mage too, she did this because she obviously has a thing for the king. She obviously loves the king, and to do this spell for him, she gives up like her voice, and then as soon as she gives him the sword, that she gets like kicked out because she's no longer useful because she can't use magic without her voice. Even though, how often have we seen anyone use magic with their voice in this?
That is true. I mean, there's no incantations. There's no actual spells.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing something like this, apparently.
Yeah, but most of the time we just see like Elena waving around her wand, shooting off like water and knives and laser beams and stuff. So
that is true, yeah.
I'm just saying. I feel like they should have let her keep her job. But yeah, so it obviously one of the big things is that we get to see the return of, I believe her name's Saya.
Yes.
There was actually one part of the episode that was really funny. But we get to see the return of Saya. She comes back. She was obviously from episode 2. She was the first one that stole Elena's brooch. She comes in. She's now a fully fledged witch, as we knew anyways from the end of that episode.
Yes, she's now known as the Charcoal Witch.
Yeah.
The fucking course she is.
Yeah, okay, so she's hyper lesbian.
I mean,
the thing is, so
I think that's a theme.
The anime trope is always a classic. If there's like, the girl kind of falling in love with the older lady that helps her, like her like senpai that likes her. And like which is funny though, because Japan is still to this day known as one of the countries with less acceptance for gay people. Yet they always have these kind of tropes, and it's like, oh, it's not gay that she loves her, that she wants to marry her and stuff like that. Like, no, it is.
I feel like it's because it's geared towards the anime and manga communities, which are very much
instead of like the old Japanese businessman community.
That's the difference. It's the target audience.
It's true, but to me, that always seems like they're treating it like a trope. But like, if you try to ask them, they'd explain like, "Oh no, she's not gay. She just is in love with just this one. She wants to marry this one woman because she helped her, that kind of stuff." I'm like, "Well, that's still, is she a woman? Does she want to marry a woman? Yeah." Like, okay, well,
it's reminding me of that one episode of Archer where that like his old buddy is like, "I'm not gay. I just have a singular male attraction." It's like, dude.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a classic anime trope, and she went hard into it, especially because she can't tell lies. Not that I don't believe she would anyways in this situation. I think that she would have said the same. She might have
been more subtle.
I don't know if she would have. Based off what I've seen of her now, I don't know if she would have been much more subtle.
I mean, okay, yeah.
But yeah, obviously.
She spent all her money on matching lockets thinking about it. That's...
Yeah. But her and Elena, they're one of the only people that are actually talking. And then the witch who got kicked out, she hired Saya to come in and try and basically break the spell because, no one in the kingdom is really liking it. It's just leading to this thing where... no one's talking. There's always tension. Anybody who does talk, they end up getting in fights from having to tell the truth and stuff like that.
Yeah, which I mean, I will say, like, I feel this is a little bit of a twisted moral. The whole like, hey, yeah, it's okay to lie. It makes society go around.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the argument of like white laws, like or white lies.
Yeah,
you can make people feel better with the white lies.
That is true, but I mean,
one of the big things here. Okay, so have you ever seen the movie The Invention of Lying?
I haven't actually.
Okay, so religion gets invented only because the main character's mom dies, and when she's going to die, the doctor's like, yeah, we don't know if there's anything after death. You might just be going to like a black abyss for all we know, because no one knows anything. But the main character feels bad for his dying mother, so he's like, no, no, no. When you die, you go to like this super nice place, like you live there forever in happiness. Like he makes up heaven and God and that kind of stuff. But then what happens is all the nurses and doctors around him like, tell us more, because whatever he says has to be truth. So they're like, what is this place? And then people think he's a prophet. So then he has to start writing his own like 10 commandments basically, and that's a religion's just invented because he wants to make people feel better, which is,
I feel like every episode we have at least one trash talk on religion.
yeah, at least. Well, it's anime. But that's like if anything, that's pointing out the good parts of religion, that, you know, even if I don't always like everything they do, as long as it comforts people to some extent, which, you know, one of the things white lies do is like you comfort someone with something that's not necessarily true or something you don't know.
Yeah, true.
But it's a lie, but it's done out of like a goodness. But yeah, I don't know. The whole issue is that she wants this thing to end because people in the kingdom aren't really enjoying it.
Yeah.
And even the king's reasoning is just like, oh, I'm sick of all my fucking people lying to me. I'm sick of all my like,
all his retainers.
Yeah, all my retainers lying to me. So no more lying for anyone. It's like, okay.
It's a very childish way of doing it. And even then, like the example they show of someone who actually talked and got into a fight was like the one guy slept with the other guy's wife. Mm-hmm. And like, I feel like that's something a white lie wouldn't cover up.
Yeah, probably not. That's a lie there's really no covering of.
Yeah, it was like maybe he wouldn't have found out, but
yeah, I think if anything, it's just that the point is that the area isn't any better without lying. It's just people just find different ways to do it, and you know it's not. And it just seems like if people aren't really enjoying it there, you know, a kingdom where no one talks basically sounds like pretty shit place to live.
Yeah.
So yeah, the mage wants them to break the spell, so they kind of come in. They're like, okay, we'll like do it for you. We'll break in, and then they use the tricky part of, hey, how can we break in without lying? Because you know it's pretty hard to get into a castle without being able to lie. And that's where Elena's like, oh wait, all we have to do is write little pieces on each paper, and the pieces that we write aren't lies, but when you put them all together, it makes a lie. But
which I mean, I feel like it's just gaming the system. Like I understand what she was doing, but
yeah, I mean that's the thing though. They don't know the rules. They're like, hey, it must work. It's the same. It's kind of the same logic as like the freshly baked bread, you know?
Yeah, that is true.
So they use that tactic. They get in. You know, they fight the king and his men. They destroy the sword, and then the lies end. And then even the other girl's voice comes back, and she's like, oh, like you know, place isn't better without lies. She's like, you know, you weren't doing something bad. You were doing something that you thought was right. You know, it's nice that you want to be so honest and stuff like that, but you can't force everyone to be.
Yeah.
And then the king kind of comes around. He's like, okay, yeah.
Which I do want to note, the king seemed awfully cool with the fact that these three people broke into his castle and it's basically attacked him.
Well, listen, once again, the laws on witches, who knows? Maybe they're allowed to do whatever the fuck they want.
It seems like it, because they could just get away with everything.
Well, one was hired specifically from, they said, what was it called? Like, it wasn't like
it's like the Magic Association.
Yeah, it was something like that. And she was hired there, and then the job was for her to go in and, you know,
stop. She didn't even know that.
No, but when she got there, she didn't say anything about like, oh, this is beyond my job limit. She's like, okay, yeah.
But she also seems like a bit of an idiot, so we don't know that.
Maybe. We still have no idea how the witch society works, what the laws are, if they have jobs. You know, I mean, obviously she has that specific job, but like, you know, do witches have like some sort of like, you know, diplomatic immunity when it comes to certain areas? Like,
it's starting to feel like that because she kind of gets away with whatever she does. And
well, they're also, one of the things to remember is that they're not just going to separate towns, they're often going to whole separate countries, which means the witch association place must have power in most countries, if not all countries, so it must be at like a higher power. So like there's something on the longs here. I don't know if they're ever going to really explain because it's not that important.
Probably not. We'll probably have like one conversation with one other mage association witch, and then
maybe one day she'll like go to the magic association place because they'll like summon her there, and then she'll get in like arguments with them and stuff like that. But yeah, the one joke I found was like her name is like Saya, which was also like the it was also like the scabbard, and then it was like really weird because they fit it into the conversation. She's like, yes, and she's like, no, not you, like the. And I was like, yeah, like people, they never have enough fun with Japanese words in anime because it's so true that like everything has like 6 different meanings depending on like how it's written and stuff like that.
Most names are actually just a word.
Yeah.
So
and I was like, but anime never acknowledges that. But I liked how they took like a whole couple seconds out of her to be like, yes, you called? And she's like, no, not you. Like his sword scabbard.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is something you see more in manga and even then more in like slice of life and basic comedies and things like that. For something like this to kind of pull it out was definitely a nice little moment.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, but one thing right now that I'm missing is the darkness, you know? Which even if you could argue like the no lying, there's some dark undertones there, that kind of stuff. In general, started a positive episode, ended a positive episode. You know, she gave her the locket. They're like, oh, we'll see each other again, all that kind of stuff. The kingdom ended up, everyone's happy again. It showed even the guys who were fighting, they're like best friends again. They're like, yeah, man, you are the best.
Yeah, I mean,
the lady selling her
right?
freshly baked bread, fresh fish. Like everyone's having a good time in this place.
Yeah,
now.
I'm just getting the context that everything here is just rotten and old, and I don't want to buy anything from these people.
But yeah, it was still a positive episode, which makes me think that now maybe the next episode is going to get dark.
I mean, probably, because I don't think they can keep up a light tone for very long with this show.
No, they have to go back and then get something either medium darkness or just like or like the worst yet.
I mean, at the very least, it'll be very melancholy, and
I really hope at the end is just Elena re-traveling back, like going to visit her mom, traveling back through all the places, and like this place is just destroyed from everyone lying to each other, and then like
everything's gone.
She goes back to the flower city, and the whole city is just like zombie flowers and destroyed. There's just that insane lady having her dinner at like the destroyed.
I mean, she doesn't even need to go back to that one for it to be ruined.
Yeah, I just want her to go through and see all the consequences of like not helping.
Yeah.
Someone did point out in the comment of our last video, it's like, yeah, like for some reason that time she saw the need to help. She's like, oh, I'm not going to help you. But then she kind of goes out to help anyways. And but all the other times where there's much more at stake, she doesn't get involved.
It's because it was a witch who needed help.
Yeah, I guess. But
we got to stick together. I mean, it's
ridiculous.
Screw random person getting eaten by flowers.
Yeah, there's so many other situations. Like she didn't help like the little slave girl.
Yeah.
I want her to go back through that town, find out that girl like killed herself. She's get super upset. Like I hope there's just something eventually that goes through and shows, because she thinks she's so perfect. I want there to be this part where she has to go through and learn that she has like flaws and that she's kind of messed up or she could have done more. That would be great to me.
It would definitely be a nice ending to this show.
Yeah, maybe not very positive.
I don't know if they actually will, because I feel like that would go against the tone of every other episode.
I mean, maybe like an end to a season, or like they do that in an episode, but then it ends positively somehow. Maybe then she sees all the positive people she affected or something. But I at least want her to learn that she could have done more.
True.
But yeah, that was the episode. Next week will be episode 7. Hopefully, we get a nice dark episode. We can only pray. And then next we're going to be talking about I'm Standing on a Million Lives, episode 6, title name.
Oh god, this is going to be painful. The Ancient Ruins of Hosu Banyazite Alugut.
Yes, I've been there a few times, yeah.
I hate you.
Yeah, so we left off the last episode with the main character being like, oh, like, are we supposed to help these people from this kingdom deliver these slaves to like their death, or deliver these people to be executed, or are we supposed to stop them? And then it starts at this one. They're like, hey, you know what? Why don't we make the decision farther along? They're like, we'll travel with them for now. We're going the same direction anyways. Let's make this decision later.
Yeah, worst case, we get there, then we tell them to fuck off, and we just take them.
Yeah, and then you kind of get the reason why, basically why they're going to be executed, which is literally just, there's two different fractions, basically religion and king.
Some religious people went a little too far, so now they're basically committing genocide.
Yeah, they're being prosecuted everywhere. Basically, if you were one of the religious people, they're like capturing you and executing you because the king is better than religion. So yeah, obviously these people really didn't do anything wrong at all. So that makes the main characters, kind of realize who's really the bad guy in the situation. Yeah. And then the wizard girl is actually the one who speaks out and is just like, your king sucks and this whole thing is stupid and like your guys are just bullies. And
yeah, which I do want to note, like she wouldn't say shit about herself. And I feel like this week we have had a lot of mages just speak the fuck up when they didn't need to.
That's true. We did. But yeah, so she kind of stands up and is like, oh, this is all dumb. And then the guy gets a little offended. And the main character's like, oh, like, you're not wrong. But like, he's like, let's just stop this for now. And then the guy doesn't talk to him for like a day or something like that. And then he comes in and he's like, hey, like, it'll take us 13 days to get through the mountains. And the main character's like, oh, we only have like 15 days left. It's going to be cutting it close. He's like, or there's a shortcut. Yeah. And he's like, well, let's take the shortcut, obviously.
Which, I mean, red flag. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, and then even the more red flags, he's like, okay, you guys all pull your wagons in. I'll activate this lever. And they're like, okay, yeah, that sounds like a good plan to me, man. So then all of them, so they're like 3 wagons, the 4 of the heroes, the knight, all that kind of stuff, they're in there. And then like the door shuts and they're basically, and the guy comes through like a little window like, ah, ha, ha, idiots. This is what you get basically, for insulting our king. We're going there. Good luck getting in here if you can even beat them. And they're just like, oh.
I think like the rest of their entourage was killed too, and just
yeah. So the other people are going there, and then the character's like, okay, we got bamboozled. They're like, but wait a minute, this is a shortcut. So if we can make it out of here, we'll get there. How
before
do they
know that?
Yeah, I don't know.
They don't know it's a shortcut. For all they know, it's just a freaking.
I feel like they're just assuming based off what he said. He never once was like, I tricked you. It's not a shortcut. He's just like, yeah, you will if you can get out of here, implying that there probably is a way out.
I mean, yeah.
So they're like, okay, like well, that's the only thing they can really go off right now. They're like, okay, well, if we beat him out here, we'll be on the way, and then we'll freaking get out and just kill him. And they're like, okay. So they're all like, oh, let's get out.
I mean, as long as they have the Night Lady do it, doesn't matter to them.
Exactly, and she could probably easily do it. So yeah, it's basically it's like anything. It's like a video game kind of dungeon. There's like puzzles to solve. Like the main character has to switch away a statue faces to solve the hammers from going across.
Yeah.
But then he's like really clever in that aspect. But then he sees a narrow pathway with just a wall and an edge, and he's like, well, let me just go walk on it. And then he gets pushed off the side and dies. But unfortunately, when he dies, he just respawns in the same spot, so he's still at the bottom. And he's like, oh, I'll figure this out. You guys go on without me. So they kind of solve the timing of the wall. The episode, it wasn't a bad episode. Like, it was entertaining, but like there's not very much content in it. Because pretty much after they solve that, right, they pretty much get to like the end of the ruin, and that's where they learn there's what do they call them? Golems?
Gargoyles.
Gargoyles. I was like, okay, so there's gargoyles, and even then we just see one kind of fall off its little juice box thing that had on the back, implying that next episode they're gonna have to fight them. And this is what the guy was hinting at. It's like if you can beat them or it or whatever.
Yeah, which I mean they can barely fight kobolds.
Yeah, they have all the worst. I mean, the knight is there though. To be fair. So she's gonna be.
Yeah, but how good is she? Actually,
she's gonna be most of the team right now.
She can beat them, but that's not saying much.
And then the main character is currently working his way on getting out. He figured that with his knife he can kind of scratch a little foothold spots in the area. But to me, that sounds like that would take an absolute millennium. But I'm sure he, because of context and he's needed to, I'm sure he'll get out in like 10 seconds to come in to save the day.
I mean, I feel like there would have been better ways to do it too. But
so yeah,
you can't tell me they didn't have rope.
Yeah, you really think they would?
What kind of adventuring party does not have a coil?
Yeah,
of
as I said, we've
rope?
played D&D. Every character basically has rope in there. And,
no matter what kit you start with, you start with 50 feet of rope, or is it 30 feet of rope?
It's 50.
Yeah, you get 50 feet of rope. I mean, come on.
Even in the wagon, you think that they would bring rope in case they need to drag something along, or I feel like you would just have rope in general.
I mean, tear off the cover of the wagon, turn it into a rope. I mean,
yeah, try something to save him a little bit more. Like I know they're under a slight time constraint,
but he does 90% of the work.
Yeah, plus it's like if he couldn't, the only other option then would be to leave. Like if he could not get up, would be to leave him there until they finish the mission and then go back to the real world, then come back, because then he wouldn't be in the same spot because they spawn somewhere new. But that's like 15 whole days you're going to leave him there, even though he's most of the thinking and the like fighting part of your party.
Yeah, because the mages don't do shit.
Yeah, they do nothing, and even like he's the kind of the one who figures out what to do most of the time, or has the most ideas of how things are working.
Yeah, they all defer to him for some reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's proven himself the most. He's had good ideas, and they're all kind of just like going around with whatever.
They always question him though, so.
Well, they question him because he takes this this chaotic good aspect to it, right? If he's like the ends justifies the means, we don't have to think about like helping other people and doing the stuff. We need to think about getting the goal to live. And they're like, oh, how could you? Like.
Like, well, if we die, they die. So.
It's like the thing, where they got kidnapped by, one of the characters got kidnapped by the bandits, and he's like, well, like, if we finish this mission, it won't matter, right? Then they'll just come back. But they're like, no, we have to go save them. He's like, well, that's a waste of time. We only have this many days. Like,
then
they'll be fine. Even if they keep getting killed, it doesn't really matter, right? But so, not exactly the most likable guy. But he's still very useful to the party, and he's just left behind. Obviously, we know now he's just going to cut himself his footholds, probably. He's going to get out probably just in time to help them with the gargoyle thing. And all will end well. They'll get out first, and then they'll probably stop that party. Hopefully, the Night Lady just kills all those knights. And maybe they'll succeed in their mission.
Yeah.
In the next episode or two.
Because they never even established that they actually found what their mission was.
Yeah, we just know it's delivering goods there. But are the goods, as I said, we don't know if the goods are the people.
They strongly imply that this is obviously an event that we have to deal with, that they're judging us based off. But for all we know, there's a box of oranges back in the starting town.
Yeah, and there's like, oh, the adventurers didn't grab the oranges, guys. How are they going to do this in time? Yeah. We assume that since you would have just obviously guessed, as I assume the main character would, that if you were not told what the goods are, you're going to stumble along them upon the way.
I mean, true.
Which then is all the characters can base this off of, is probably the goods of the people. It wasn't a bad episode, but really when you start to like break it down, there's not that much that happened. It's really just they take a little bit to, like, you're watching for a few minutes as they try and solve the puzzle of the timing thing without actually like it being explained to you, or like they're just kind of like, oh, the timing of this and this, and oh, then it's this. And it's like, okay, like if you're not going to make the puzzle so it's like fun for the viewer to try and solve too, then why even show them trying to figure it out? Just be like, oh, we figured it out, and then go. I
mean, the puzzle that the guys solved earlier with the statue facing, at least we could have looked at that. It's like, oh yeah, I can see how this is supposed to go.
Yeah, it's literally, he like looked at the hammers going across. He like looked up, walked up, found a thing, was like, oh, and like turned it. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Meanwhile, this
puzzle
one,
of all time.
Anybody who's ever played a video game would look at that wall. It's like, yeah, you just have to figure out the timing.
Yeah, one straight line wall, a cliff to the left side, and just a straight wall on the side. And he didn't even think for a second that it could have been trapped after he's already been through this area and had like the last trap and had to solve a puzzle. A little dumb, but I mean, whatever. Next episode, I think that they're gonna get out. Obviously, I don't know if the whole episode will be fighting the gargoyle or gargoyles. If there's, it looked like there might have been more than one, but one was like ripped in half.
Yeah, the other one, like it might be like just a weaker version, or
yeah, I don't know if that'll be the whole episode, if they'll get out and kind of solve this whole thing with those other knights now. And I think we're only like 2 episodes away from probably them finishing this task, I hope, and then getting one more person in. But
see, I don't even know if we're going to get another person. They might drag this out the full length of the series.
I mean, they definitely could. It is like they still have 15 days of like basically where we are right now. So they could make that drag out, because this is what, episode 6? Yeah, probably 12 or 13. I feel like they'll get out one more time. I feel like they'll go in for one more task. I don't know if they'll finish that task by the time the season ends, or if it's going to be like a really big one, or if they'll just get in by the time the season's ending. But I think they'll go out to the real world one more time. That's my guess anyways. We'll have to wait to see if it comes true. What are your thoughts on the show overall now that we're at the halfway mark?
Overall, it's a little bit of a twist on the isekai genre. I don't think it's anything too original.
Yeah, like they try to do the whole like coming in and out of the real world with like this like game task, is like that's like their differentiating thing between other isekais, but
it feels closer to a VR isekai, something like Infinite Dendrogram or Bofuri.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it is positioned as a game, right? They roll through classes. There's the game master, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think my biggest issue is they haven't really touched base on the class system enough for me to really get invested in that element of it.
Yeah, that's they specifically, like, they purposely ignore all the questions that you'd have. A lot of times when even with like VR, like VR MMO isekais, one of the first things they do is they kind of explain the game or the world, that kind of thing. So then you can not kind of know what makes sense, what doesn't, like what works, what doesn't. Here they just ignore it so that they can do anything. You know, they don't want to give away too much information in case that then would, you know, stop them later from being able to do something specific they need for the plot. They want to keep it, you know, keep it secret, keep it safe.
Yeah, because I mean, we haven't seen anyone else change classes, and it's kind of given up that, like, oh, they just aren't earning any experience points.
Yeah, like because he changed classes, I think 2 separate times when he got to rank 10. That was the whole point about stabbing the goblin just before he got killed by the trolls. He hit rank 10 and they got to change classes.
Yeah, so now
are we implying that none of them have ever hit rank 10 to get like a second class?
Yeah, because he's what? He's a villager, a chef, and
summoner, I think is what it was. Or
it's like human mage or something like that. It had a really dumb name. But no one else has actually smacked enough things to be level 10 yet? Like, really?
Apparently, yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, we have seen them and they all kind of suck.
I mean, so, but you think eventually they'd stab enough.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, now they're getting... I wonder if like the sword training gets you EXP if they're training with the lady.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one guy's getting experience just for like healing people.
Yeah, the one chick was salty. She's like, oh, he's just doing this for EXP.
It's like, well, bitch.
Yeah, maybe you should be doing more for EXP, lady.
It's like you have heat magic. When at night, instead of lighting a fire, be warm. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, that's it. My main complaint is that like they're not explaining enough about the world for me to get invested into something that mainly takes place in the world that we know nothing about. Yeah. I would like to say that they will eventually, but I feel like if they haven't by now, they just won't. So
probably not, honestly.
Yeah. So even like when a lot of times when they're explaining this stuff about like, you know, the king and the religion, that kind of stuff, that's like world building, but world building like half-assed in a world that we don't know anything else about. It's like, what's even the point at this point? You might as well just play off the fact that we don't know anything and just not really care about it. But
yeah, because they're just like, oh, this is from a larger kingdom that is run by a tyrant who wants to kill all this religion, and they're going to another country and executing people there because they can do that apparently. Yeah,
we're like, no, this is too much. You don't care about the world. Don't try and care now. It's too late. You know, if you really cared about the world, it would have come in explaining the game or explaining the world they're going to. Be like, oh, there are these countries, and like, you know, like they got like a little opening cinematic when they first went in. So they'd be like, oh, I know how this world slightly works now.
Yeah, something to give us even the most vestigial form of investment.
Yeah.
Like, as far as I know now, all I'm supposed to care about are the characters, and at least one of them is just annoying.
That's true. At least one, if not all.
Like, I'm still on the fence with the glasses girl.
Yeah, I mean, if she gets more character, her like introduction to us was just so annoying, just in the sense where she just like she's like, just down with being like sexually assaulted and bullied, then she like gets mad at the guy in like a sense for helping, you know?
Yeah, it was like, how dare you prevent me being the victim of revenge porn? It's like, what?
Yeah, there's a lot of questionability in like the character so far.
There was something I want to look back on, and I realized we didn't talk about this enough. Dane Dude's actually pretty fucking strong in the main role too. He was able to snap a smartphone in half with his bare hands.
Very strong. To be fair, he's not like the nerdy classic trope of a guy who'd be better in isekai, because even when he was shown before, he was like playing sports and hanging out with his friends. He was a normal guy.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if I could snap my phone in half with my bare hands.
I could snap a phone in half. I've done it.
I'm sure you have, actually.
I've done it a few times, probably, to be honest. But, I mean, I don't think I could snap a bunch in half without damaging my hands.
Yeah.
Even when I have snapped a phone in half, I got some glass in my hand. So, and I think that was even in the phone was inside of a Ziploc bag. And I still, like, the glasses went through the bag and cut me. And this guy's just grabbing them. This guy's just grabbing them, breaking them, no big deal. Yeah. And this is Japan. They have the best phones, too. So, like, ridiculous. I don't know. Maybe he's just got really good stats in real life. Maybe that's why he hates being... Maybe that's why in the game he feels so weak, because he's actually so much stronger in real life.
I mean, maybe.
But, yeah, I mean, the show, it's okay. I'm about as invested now as I say when I kind of started, to be honest. Like, I don't think it's went up. I don't think it's went down.
Yeah, they haven't really given us anything to latch on to.
Yeah, it's pretty much on the same line. I did gain a little bit of interest when they did the part where he finished the quest and he said, hey, like, you know, what's the last task or what'll happen after the last task? And then they kind of show this, like, inside Tokyo, them being, like, you know, higher classes, and there's, like, a dragon. And I'm like, okay, like, this is kind of interesting story. Like, the game's going to merge with real life at some point. Like, that's kind of like a cool aspect. But I don't know if we're going to get there. So that's the one thing that's kind of taking that part away from me.
That's true. And there was a moment in this episode that actually hyped me up for a second. That's when they actually showed the big red wheel mechanism. Mm-hmm. For a second, I thought they were going to pull some...
Ferris wheel?
Yeah.
I also thought it was going to be like a Ferris wheel of like this being like this whole world's actually a futuristic regular Earth.
Yeah. I was actually kind of excited about that because that would actually be kind of an interesting idea.
I thought the exact same thing when I saw it. I was like, okay. I was like, oh, that's like a Ferris wheel. This is actually going to be... This is Earth in like the future, and like this is the future where he comes from, and that's where he has like he sent the game master back to pick him for the... And I was like, oh, this could be like plot, and I'm like, oh, never mind, it's just a wheel. It's just a wheel that collects water.
Just a water wheel
to move the mechanism. So I was like, okay, well,
seems a little overkill, but okay.
Yeah, I literally had the exact same thought when I saw it, but that hype was over real fast once I saw what it did. I was like, oh, never mind. We're still gonna have to wait to see how this whole thing interacts with the real world. I don't think we're gonna get that this season, but hopefully we at least get like an exciting season finale for this. But
yeah, because I don't think this is gonna be one of the ones that get a second season, unfortunately.
Yeah, probably not. It will probably just be a 13 episodes, unless maybe it gets very good and people love it. And I haven't actually looked about like the hype levels, but I'm also not hearing things about it. Like whenever I go to like Reddit, I'm seeing weekly discussions on all the different episodes we kind of talk about, but I'm not really seeing very much about A Million Lives. So.
Yeah, this is probably the weakest contender out of all the ones we regularly talk about, actually.
Probably, and that's even just because like Isekai already has such a bad name in like the anime genre now over the past few years that there have been ones that come out that people have enjoyed, which means like if it's done well, it gets a little extra hype from being from a genre that's definitely like kind of made fun of now. But if it's not done, even if it's just done mediocre, if it's not done super well, then then people just don't like it, right? It's once again playing into the tropes of isekais being bad and like not very well written, which is never what you want. But like when some good ones come out, like even ones that people thought they wouldn't like the slime isekai, but when that comes out and people actually like it, then it gets a lot of hype. People really like it. But yeah, when an isekai comes out and just lays kind of flat, that's almost like worse than it being bad. Because if it's bad, it's like memorable in a sense, or people kind of keep memeing it.
Yeah, because I mean, I still remember a lot of the details of In Another World with my smartphone, because it was just so bad it actually made me angry with it. But all the mediocre isekais I've seen since, they just kind of blur together. Well,
even like Sword Art, right? People either hate Sword Art or they love it. At least it's not in the middle. It's rarely ever just like, oh, Sword Art was boring. It's like, no, it was either bad, like that's shitty written, like that whole scene was terrible, or people are like, no, it's great, like I love it, which is what you want. You want something to be really bad or really good. Being like mediocre is like the worst for an anime.
Yeah, because I mean, even something like Sword Art, they can get away with the spectacle part of it at least. Mm-hmm. This doesn't have the spectacle. It doesn't have the characters. It doesn't have any waifus to market.
Yeah, it doesn't even have like the epic fights or like the sick music. It doesn't really have anything special going on for it. So unless there's like a real big twist or something kind of happens in this season that adds to all the hype, I don't know if people are even watching it long enough to see if that does happen.
Yeah, because this would normally be the cutoff point for a lot of people, and I don't think they've done enough to grab them.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll do a little bit of research. I'll see how other people kind of review it and see it. Maybe we're just missing something. Maybe it's actually fantastic, and
is this going to be another Demon Academy one? Something incredibly deep that we're just missing?
I mean, maybe. Probably not, but maybe. But yeah, I mean, that's all we can really talk about for that episode, Million Lives. We'll keep you updated next week. If you're that guy who sees something really special in it that we don't, let us know. I don't imagine you are, but if you're watching this along with us, just let us know what you love about it, and I'll at least be curious to see why other people keep going. Because I think one of the reasons we keep going is just because we're talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been keeping it with pretty much everything that's been coming out. So
yeah, but on like a normal, if this was like a year ago and this came out, I probably would have dropped it. at some point.
Yeah.
If it's not one of the things I'm like really looking forward to each week, it's something I normally just don't watch.
Yeah, I probably would have dropped it halfway through the night episode.
Like maybe sometimes when I like when the show's done and I have no animated season, I'll go back and rewatch like a full season of a show that didn't really keep my interest. But to actively watch something each week as it's like simulcasted,
it's more effort.
Yeah, it's more effort, and it needs to keep me invested to want to do that every single week. And I don't know if this one would have done it, but we're gonna keep talking about it anyways because only 6 episodes or 7 episodes left. Yeah. So we're gonna see if it gets big. Next up is probably one of the bigger ones, which is Don Machi Season 3, Episode 6, title.
This is Gnosis / Man-Made Labyrinth.
Okay, both of those make a lot of sense. I don't know why. Why is that a dual title though? Because like Gnosis is the name of the man-made labyrinth.
Yeah, I don't know.
So if you watched the episode, you don't need both the titles because you're like those mean the same thing.
I almost wonder if this is something we're missing, something like maybe an airing name and like a DVD name almost. Like, I mean, they've got 2 different running names for them.
Maybe. I swear this has never been a thing until this season.
It's not like some of those other shows where they've got the split arc going on where there's 2 different topics going on.
Well, some of them we have had those, like even recently, like Fire Force, for instance, last week had like the Holy Girl, whatever, and like the Assault one. So it had like the 2 separate split of the arcs in the episode, which
so made sense.
But this is literally just Gnosis, which is the name of the man-made labyrinth, and then / the man-made labyrinth. So it's just, unless they're like, oh, people are dumb, they don't remember the name was Gnosis. I'm like, well, if they watch the episode, they probably do.
I mean, how many names do you know from this show, just out of curiosity?
A decent amount, I would say.
I mean, okay, how many names do we know from the other shows we've been watching?
A very small amount. But this is on its 3rd season, so most of the names are easier. Plus, a lot of them in here aren't...
they're more fantasy as opposed to Japanese.
Yeah, they're more fantasy, just generalized world
Belle,
names
Lily,
instead of
Welf.
Japanese. Yeah, they're all kind of, even like the Daedalus is like the name of the guy.
Yeah, a lot of
the
Greek
family
names.
name.
Thinking about it,
well, yeah, I mean they are like gods. Like
they're literally Greek gods. Yeah.
So I mean that's the episode was a lot of background. The very first image starts off with a like a gray-haired, probably like middle-aged man, kind of going a little crazy. He's like hammering away, and then eventually he just like drops the hammer. And he starts just hammering with his bare hands.
Don't know if that's the most efficient way to do that.
And then they zoom in on his eyes, and he's got. I thought it looked like a flag or something. Now I think it's supposed to be a D, is what I assume. So it just shows him hammering. You're kind of like, oh, like what's that about? And then they get into kind of Belle and the Ganesha family.
Yeah, them infiltrating or going into the dungeon, I guess.
Yeah,
to try and subdue the monsters that attack the town.
Yeah, so it looks like they are on the, is it 16th floor or 17th?
17th.
Okay, it looks like they are on the 17th floor at this point. They kind of just skipped ahead to getting there. They're fighting. They meet up with all the monsters who are attacking the town. They're fighting them. Belle sees Lid or whatever his name is and kind of runs after him. And that's where he finally gets the explanation. The lead goes into like, oh, like, I know, like, we are the evil monsters people say we are. We attacked because he's like, I'm just so fucking mad, right? They killed our friends. They took some of them.
My attitude towards that whole speech was like, you're kind of justified, dude.
Yeah. I guess it's an inner self-worth thing. He's like, yeah, we are. Like, we're killing people. We took over this town. We're being bad monsters. Like, we're supposed to be like, yeah, I don't know. They attacked you first. They killed many of your friends. They captured some of them for slavery for really no good reason, just because they want money, plus like a little bit for fun.
Because
they tried to rape your spider friend.
Because we've seen how bad they are at their jobs. They catch a bunch of these monsters, and then they're just like, we kill them because why not?
Now in this episode, they did show that they in fact did capture one of the harpies that was at the thing, and they did not kill her. That was one that was like kicked out of the sky at one point. Yeah, but I guess they didn't kill that one.
I don't think they killed all of them, because they definitely killed most of them.
Yeah. They probably killed most of the ones that were actually like fighting, like the strong ones, and left a lot of like the weaker ones, that would be less effort to contain. But then Lead kind of explains to Belle, being like, they killed our friends, they attacked, and like they captured some of them, like like Weene's missing, and then Belle's like, Weene's missing. He's like, oh fuck. And then he's like, well, oh, I let go. And he's like, well, I'll come with you. And he's like, no. He's like, you're a human. Don't forget that. Like, the people hate you. They'll get mad at you if they see you. So like, and then he like draws his little line in the sand with his sword, and then he runs away. And then Belle's like, oh, I'll go follow him. And then, this, of course, the one name I can't remember.
Ryu.
Yes. She pops out, and she's like, oh, like, Now, my big question, she hands him the bag. Belle's like, I have to go after that monster. And she's like, okay, if you're going to go, like...
She hands him a bag with a bunch of stuff in it.
Yeah, she's like, take this with you. And then one of the things in that bag is the eyeball key.
Yeah. So I know what this is, because I know more of the backstory.
Well, because she hates the one group. What are the Edilus?
Evilus.
Okay, Evilus. Yeah, of course. It needs to have evil in the name. How are we supposed to know it's bad?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's linked to that.
Yeah.
But basically, she hands him a bag. One of the things is this like eyeball-looking thing, which later in the episode has a lot of worth. Basically, all the monsters they interrogate one of the guys who actually tried to rape the spider, and he was one of the poison face guys. And he's like, "Oh, there's the door like over there." And then he kind of laughs. He's like, "Yeah, but you won't get into it." And then they go there. Yeah, they go there, and then Dix and their team inside invites them in. So now you're starting to kind of get the grasp of where they are. You're like, okay, yeah, they're party. Like the place we keep seeing them on is inside the dungeon, and it's on floor 17.
Yeah, I mean it's almost parallel, or not parallel, adjacent.
Yeah, so we're like, okay, yeah, so they must be there. So he's like, oh, let them in. Like he's got a trap for them. We're like, uh-oh. Belle kind of follows, and then when Belle gets there, though, he meets up with Fells, I believe is the name, and he gets there. He's like, oh, like I can't find this wall. And then like there's like a glowing from inside the bag, and they pull it out, and it's the thing that she just gave him, like the eyeball like key, and then Fells holds it up, and it opens up the door. So it's like a key to this place.
Yep.
And then as you go through, basically the episode is just giving you the lore of like the place they're in. So as they kind of hint at before, even Fells is like, yeah, we always thought there was another entrance that wasn't just like Babel or whatever. Like there was a different entrance into the dungeon, and like this just kind of proves it. Which we obviously knew that was a thing because they keep getting these monsters and getting them out without entering or exiting.
They're obviously Babel. Not going through the proper channels.
Yeah, but you get the lore behind it. It's explained once again simultaneously, kind of through the story we're seeing with Belle and them. It's not a show, it's not a tell, it's a show. But then we're also being told at the same time through a different story, basically, because we're also hearing about it through is it Hestia? Who's hearing about it at the same time?
Hermes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Hermes, and
he's talking to Ikelos.
Yeah. So it's him. They've done it earlier in the season while it was Hestia and Oranos talking, and then it's like we're seeing one group be like showed, and then we're seeing one group be told. So it kind of mixes into, which I actually like. It's a good narrative way to do things.
Yeah.
Because if you know a lot about like directing and stuff with movies, it's always show, don't tell. Exposition is like the enemy. If you're just giving people long dialogue lines explaining why something is bad. But then showing sometimes too, it means you have to do it in a way where the audience understands completely even without being told. So this is like a weird kind of workaround where we're being shown, but we're also being told at the same time. So we're kind of like half the characters are only seeing and they have to learn the information just from being shown. And then half the characters are being told, which I like. It's cool.
Especially with something like this, because something like, Daedalus went nuts and decided to start building this place isn't something you would necessarily get from just seeing this.
Yeah.
So having Ikelos kind of break that down for Hermes is kind of a nice way of giving us that context and giving us that additional information.
So we'll get into the story of Daedalus basically, because there's a Daedalus street inside what the hell's it called?
Babel.
Well, it's inside the town. I can't remember what the city's name is right now. Starts with an O.
Orario.
Yeah. So there's the street there, and then there's the this path. So that's why even when they're questioning the one guy or whatever, they're like, oh, go to the Daedalus street. And they're like, okay, like we'll go there when they're looking for because that was the what's his face from the family, from Lily's family, right?
Soma.
Yeah. What was his name though?
Oh, I don't know what his name is.
Because he was like one of the bad guys in season 2.
He was the captain of the Soma Familia. That's all I remember.
Yeah, but they go to him and they question. He's like, oh, go to like Daedalus Street. You'll find some answers there. And then, that's where we get the backstory about Daedalus. He was basically like the really good like craftsman, like one of the world's best craftsmen at the time.
Yeah.
He's who like built Babel, or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, he was the one who built the entrance to the dungeon and built Babel.
Yeah, it was his opus magnus or whatever. It was his life's goal, his grand thing. But then he went crazy from the thought of basically the dungeon is better than him at building stuff. The dungeon is like this like
it's beyond his comprehension.
It's like it's an entity in a sense where like it builds its own things. That everything's kind of it doesn't make any sense, but it's better than him in a sense. So he goes crazy with like that thought.
Yeah,
and that's where he starts building a path, like an entranceway, a secret passage.
Well, it's not even that. He's trying to build his own dungeon.
Yeah, but it just like it connects at some point.
I mean, I feel like he started in the dungeon and just branched off. But...
Yeah, so basically what it is, though, as we know right now, it's a path going... The current path is from floor 17 up into the top, up until somewhere on Daedalus Street.
We don't know if it goes lower either.
Yeah, and we don't know exactly... Did they mention how long ago Daedalus was actually a thing?
Oh, this was when God's first descended.
I was going to say, it would have been a long time. But basically all of his descendants since have been continuing on building. Now, if we're assuming that the floor 17 is probably where they currently are, that's 17 floors of who knows how long this dungeon goes down over like 1,000 years or something. Like,
yeah, at least a couple hundred. I don't think it's actually been over 1,000.
I was gonna say a long ass time, and then so we find out that Dix is one of the descendants of him, and like anyone else, his job is to keep building. And one of the reasons he's been capturing monsters and stuff like that is to sell them. It's just for money. Yeah. He doesn't admit, he's like, it's not just for money now though, but the original start goal was to make money to help, because it's expensive, you know, to be able to fund such an expedition to constantly be building and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, I mean, for most familiars, even just getting to that depth in the dungeon is kind of important. So
yeah, and then one of the other important pieces of information is that he shows his eyes. He removes his goggles, and basically all the descendants of Daedalus have like the D thing in their eye, which you have to be able to open up. Like, it's basically to be able to use the passage, you have to be able to have the eyes.
Yeah, so he went through, tore the eyes out of all the corpses of his relatives.
Yeah, to make keys for like his like men, basically. And then Belle, the thing he's been using, has been one of those. So, you know, we as the viewers of just the anime, we don't exactly know how What's-Her-Face got one of them, but she has one. Yeah. And now Belle has it. And then, so basically that's, you've been using as a key as the eye. He can just go in without the keys, though, because he has the actual eyes himself.
Yeah.
And that's, so we got a little bit of history there. The end of the episode is basically very much like Belle's about to be fighting him. You know, he cast a spell that made some of the monsters go kind of crazy.
Yes, it was specified as a curse, I believe.
Yeah, so like some of them are fighting each other, and then Belle's like, you know, he's like, oh, you have to go fight him, Belle. And he's like, oh, like the guy's level 5 though. He's like, I'm level 5. You don't want to fuck with me, the little rookie.
Because I mean, Belle's what, level 4 at this point? Yeah,
but like levels make a huge difference in this.
It's an exponential growth. Yeah,
yeah, like but we've always seen Belle fight people that are higher levels, and he always has to come through using his whole Argonaut. Basically, is what it's about. It's about, like, you know. Yeah,
because I mean, they did the same
plus
thing
ultra.
With the. I mean, yeah, they did the same thing with the Apollo family, didn't they? So.
Yeah, that was because. And then every single time he always stuff like someone who's higher level, and then this time he looks like a little worried though. He's like, oh, level 5, and then the guy's like, oh yeah, but like that curse had to take a lot out of him. Like, he's got to be weakened. And then even Dix is like, hey, don't go telling him that. It's like, and then it's kind of, the episode ends with like Belle running towards him, like fighting him. I think he just gets to him, like hits his daggers against his thing, implying the next episode we're gonna get a nice little fight between Belle and Dix, which is always nice. Yeah,
I'm curious about where the Echolus Familia is going to come into this, because they are all there. Are they actually going to do anything? Or
I mean, even if they're kind of a sketchy family, so they're either going to. I don't necessarily believe Dix just to have a fair fight, like a fair contest.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're either going to do something like that. Maybe the leftover monsters who are not under the curse will help. Like Lead's not under there. There's Fells is still casting some spells and shit.
True.
So they might help it a little bit, or once again, we might get. Some of the Ganesha family might eventually make it. You know, maybe someone's going to go fetch them, because that kid took the key and ran away.
Right, the little goblin guy.
The little goblin. So he might be going to fetch someone. He might be going to try and...
True, you might just bait them in. It's like, hey, guys, wave the eye around and just fuck off.
Yeah, so he might do something. But I am looking forward a lot to the Bells and Dix fight. That'll be good.
It is going to be a big one. I think it's going to be their kind of headline fight of this arc. So
the other thing, too, that seems very possible is that... Now, I think that they're going... Welf and Lily and all of them, they're going to Daedalus Street. They're probably going to find some men with a key there. They're probably going to go down and meet Belle down there to come in.
Because we don't know when they were doing that either.
Yeah, that's just because the show shows you things at the same time does not mean they took place at the same time.
Yeah, because there's a good chance they'll just show up and it's going to be evened out just through Haruhime's level up ability. So,
but yeah, even if they did, even if it is the same time, them going through 17 floors of no monsters, assuming they get the key from one of the men inside the Daedalus Street hideout or whatever like that, is not the same as going through 17 floors of a dungeon. So they could still run through that, get there pretty fast in time to help Belle and the rest of them.
For all we know, there's just like one staircase that goes all the way down.
Yeah, maybe there's just an elevator now. Maybe they finally installed an elevator going down.
We don't know what their vision was when they built this place.
Yeah, so they'll probably get there in time to help it a little bit too. And then we'll have like Aisha and, I'm sure she'll come. And then I always forget the elf's name.
Ryu, yeah.
Yeah, they'll probably get there too.
You remember Aisha, but you don't remember Ryu.
It's a cool name. I don't know. It fits the character really well. I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited for the Bells Dix fight, and then I'm sure the Hestia family will come down. You know, I don't know. Do you think Hestia is going to go with him again? She keeps breaking the rules. She's not supposed to go in the dungeon, but she always does.
I don't think she will. I mean, that being said, I don't think the man-made dungeon counts.
That's true. As long as she doesn't exit out into floor 17.
The biggest thing, though, is if she does roll up, she's just kind of a target.
So what do you think is going to happen with Ikelos himself, though?
Oh, they're going to off him.
You think so? He doesn't like he's giving all the information to Hermes right now. Like, he doesn't really give a shit. And
yeah, but he's still part of Evilus.
Yeah.
He's still responsible for selling monsters.
Yeah.
I mean, they sent Apollo back to heaven just because he lost a bet.
But is he like going to try and fight back? Is he going to try and run away?
I don't think so.
He's just going to accept it?
I don't think he will, because I don't think he can.
Oh, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Like, I'm not going to lie. I don't know what type of god Ikelos is.
I think of him like a Loki, like a trickster god.
Well, like, I don't know what his role in the Greek pantheon is what I'm saying.
Like an actual god?
Like, I know Hephaestus was the smith. I know Hestia is a goddess of the hearth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the name Ikelos from any of my Greek research.
There's a shit ton of gods in Greek mythology,
exactly.
too. He could be the fucking god of a blade of grass for all we know. They have such little things. Some of them have, like, dual things they cover, too. Like, so, yeah, it's really hard to say.
Yeah. I think I might actually research that for next week.
You might know just to see if it fits. Just to be like, hey, does this fit with what he's been doing so far? It's like,
if it's just
he
like,
was the Greek god of selling monsters and being an asshole.
I was going to say, if he's just like the Greek god of being a douchebag, it's like, oh, wow.
That's actually all of them, though, Jimmy. They are all douchebags.
I mean, I feel like some of them weren't too bad.
I think they were all pretty bad.
Yeah.
I always feel the worst for Hades, though. He's gotten the shit end of the stick in every single... I mainly blame Disney, but in every other sense, too. Like in like Percy Jackson, he was like one of the bad guys. Though a little more chill, actually.
I mean, I feel like he was a chill guy because he's like, yeah, no, I'll watch over the underworld.
Yeah, like he just kind of got fucked. That's all. He got like the real shit end of the stick from the brothers. One's like, okay, I'll govern the heavens and kind of all gods. One's like, yeah, I'll take the sea. That's 70% of Earth. That's fair. And then, oh, Hades, do you mind checking out the underworld for us? Just keep an eye out down there. And he's like, I mean, I don't really want to. Like, you're kind of the one who's doing it, though. Like, I'm Zeus now. So, like, okay. Like, he got a little cucked. That's all. Yeah, very excited for the Bell Dix fight, though. I love seeing a good Bell power-up fight. Maybe Haruhime will get there in time to power him up. That basically gives him like a level, making it 5v5, you know?
Yeah.
We're going to have to get to that next week. Don Machi's definitely ones that I'm still excited for every single week.
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't think we've actually seen a proper fight this season, have we?
No, not really anyways. I wouldn't count like an actual fight. Like we've seen like, Bell fight lead for a couple seconds based off that.
Yeah, but even then, like, I feel like he was trying to hold back because he was trying not to off the monsters.
Yeah, most of it was like Bell fighting, some monsters or something like that. Like there was nothing big so far.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. We see obviously like, the monsters fighting the Ikelos family while they're getting like absolutely massacred. But yeah, nothing, no big 1v1 yet, which we'll see if this is going to be
nothing like the Minotaur fight from the first season.
Now it feels early again. This is the thing. It feels early, but Don Machi is known for having dual arc seasons.
Yeah.
So they might be done with the Ikelos family faster and then either just have a greater issue of the whole bringing monsters to the world and being, bringing to the world of light and stuff like that, or they'll go with a separate issue altogether.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if once they deal with the Ikelos family, there's more of a social or political issue with the Loki Familia.
Yeah.
With the amount of emphasis they put onto the Loki Familia this season, there's no way we're getting away without them
They're saving it. They're saving it for season 10.
I mean, that's really optimistic.
There's a shit ton of light novel. I actually own one of the light novels somewhere down here. Actually, it's right there. It's number 6. I don't know what that covers. I don't know why I just own number 6.
You probably just found it like Value Village.
I think it was when the first season came out and I was really into Don Machi, and there was just nothing else I could get. Like there was nothing other. You didn't know if there was another season coming out. They even took a long time for season 2 to come out for Don Machi.
Yeah, I actually remember that when they did the second season, I was kind of surprised.
It was like years. So I was just like, I wanted more, so I just bought one of the light novels. But it was the only one that was there, and it made no sense to me.
I mean, it was probably just the last one in the store, right? So
yeah. But
there was Sword Oratoria in the middle of that, though. So
yeah, that came out after. Like that would have come out after I bought the book, but I never actually watched that for some reason. I don't know if it's just because when it came out, I was busy, but I have the whole thing downloaded on my laptop just in case.
I mean, it's a solid season.
If it would have come out on something like Crunchyroll, I would have watched it at the time, right? But they didn't, which was like a weird.
That was actually really. I remember that was like one of the shows I ended up watching on Kiss Anime because I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah, I had to download it when I heard that it was out instead of just watching it on my streaming, because I've been subscribed to Crunchyroll now for like 8 years, something like that, like a long time. That's where pretty much all of my at some point in life I just kind of gave up on watching anime streaming sites, and I was just like, no, I'm an adult now. I shall pay for my anime. But yeah, then you just get disappointed when shit like that, like when I was waiting years for Don Machi and they finally came out with something along the lines, and then I couldn't watch it on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of unlicensed anime I kind of want to watch that you just can't find anywhere. So
yeah, luckily now I think that with the mix between Crunchyroll and Funimation, they're handling a lot. Like they got a lot of shit.
Yeah, there are some older shows you can't get a hold of.
But like, one of the weeks, I think it was like 1 or 2 weeks ago, the amount of old anime they put on Funimation was insane.
Sure.
Like I tried going to Recently Added to find like Wandering Witch, and I had to go through like pages after pages because they added so much onto there, like old ass anime. Yeah. So I think Funimation is definitely picking up, even compared to like a year ago when I subscribed to Funimation and I looked what was on there. There was like nothing, and now there's so much. So they're doing a good job, and they're not that expensive either. I think it's like $7.
They're not bad at all, and we're not sponsored, by the way.
No, not sponsored. I wish we were sponsored.
Yeah, but I mean, I even remember when Funimation first started doing the subscription. I looked at it, and the only thing you get was like simuldubs.
Yeah.
And even then, only for shows for that season. It's like, okay, no, I'm not gonna pay for you. Yeah, let's go to Crunchyroll.
Yeah, I only subscribed to Funimation once at the early COVID because I wanted to watch My Hero dubbed. Right. I'd already seen it subbed and I wanted to rewatch it. I was like, well, I'll rewatch it dubbed. And then I resubbed for Gleipnir and Kakushigoto.
Yeah, I think I actually ended up subbing right around the time of Gleipnir as well.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, one day maybe that'll get a season 2 we can talk about.
Oh, it's just probably not.
But I think that's all we got for Don Machi right now. Going on to the next on the list will be King's Raid episode 6, which is
Maven of Fire.
Okay, makes sense. The whole episode is basically about what the hell's her name? It's not even a hard name.
It isn't, but she's such a generic mage. I forgot it.
Yeah, she got her whole episode, and we can't even remember her name, even though we can remember Roy's name, and he hasn't got an episode.
Yeah, I was like, I keep calling her Lute. That's just because she reminds me of that one Fire Emblem character.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, God, everyone else in the party. There's Castle. There's Frey.
Misha?
No.
Mai?
No. Thing is, I can't tell you when you're right. I don't know if I can tell you when you're right. I can tell you when you're wrong. Either way, she has a name for sure. And then she got her episode here. They make it to a city. They want to shop around, all that kind of stuff, and she's kind of throwing out the money. She's making it rain the coins. And we're like, when I was watching, I was like, oh, is she either like rich and has tons of money, or like, oh, maybe she's using like some sort of magic to like duplicate the money, and she's kind of being sketchy or something like that. Those are my assumptions, but no, she was just spending all their money a little irresponsible.
She goes on. It's like, oh, I read about this town, like how it had a hard pass, and now I want to support them. It's like, so you give away all your money, bitch?
Yeah, not the best idea. It basically gets to the point where they want to leave. They're like, oh, let's take off for the night. She's like, oh no, like we should stay here, support the town. She gave kind of their sad backstory, and then the character's like, yeah, you know what? Like we haven't slept in like a bed in a little while. Like, what if we stay here tonight? Then we'll leave tomorrow.
Yeah,
and they're like, okay.
Get a good night's rest.
Yeah, they're like, well, until then, let's go hang around more. And then she keeps buying shit until then they get to like the night basically, or like later on, and then she has spent all their money and they don't have enough money for an inn anymore.
Yeah, they've got like 3 copper left. It's like, oh.
So they're like, okay, like, oh, I found a place that'll let us work, to stay there tonight. So they go out of the town to like an older inn.
Well, there was one before that.
Oh yeah, they go to that place. I guess that's pretty important. They go there. Everyone's kind of doing a good job. I don't know why they didn't give Castle a job though.
I think he was just cutting wood.
Yeah, but when they first said, they're like, oh, I'm going to be the cook. She's like, oh, Frey, she's going to be the waitress. Is that what
she was making tea.
Oh yes, making tea. And then it's like Roy will be the server. He's the handsome butler character. And then Castle's like, what'll I do? She's like, oh, you don't have to work for it. She's like, you're fine.
Well, she said he didn't have to change because I think he was just cutting firewood for the place.
Yeah, that's what he was doing later, and he was getting a little bit, a little mad while he was doing it.
A little introspective, yeah.
Yeah, but then what happens is while she's cooking, she shows them her fire magic to like light the thing, and they're like, oh yeah, show us more. And she's like, okay, and then she just starts shooting fireballs into it.
Does she not know any other magic? I never realized this before. Does she just know fireball?
I think she's I think that she's just specifically a fire mage based off her color scheme and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like you would know like how to make like a pretty light or fire shape or something like that.
They're trying to go for the Mega Man thing, They're trying to be like, oh yeah, we want a Mega Man character. People love her.
Just without the character, the meme or anything like that.
So she keeps casting fireball until basically she like
burns the place down.
Yeah, she causes a fire of some sort, and then they get kicked out. So then they're like, oh, we found another place we can work, and then they go there, and it's kind of like an older, a little more rundown. No one's really staying there. Out in the open, surrounded by a bunch of rocks and that kind of shit.
Yeah. Just a little old lady is a bit of a bitch.
Yeah, and then, the girl's like, oh, I'll use my fire magic. She's like, no, don't use fire magic around here. And then she goes to the story about how, like, the last time, they were attacked and everything was burnt down and all these people died. So basically she doesn't want her to use fire magic because it, insults their memory or something,
Yeah. I feel like it's more like she's, like, traumatized by the idea that a mage who's trying to help accidentally burned everyone alive, so...
Yeah, but then, of course, what happens is they end up getting attacked by demons. And by getting attacked by demons, they're kind of getting cucked, Castle's doing his best, but he's fighting a lot of them at the same time.
Yeah, he doesn't have Roy with him.
Yeah, Roy's not there. He's selling a dagger for some money. And And then yeah, even like Freya, she's doing something, but you know she's still not very strong as we've seen.
Yeah, she's not a frontliner. She's a support mage.
And then she refuses to use her fire magic because the lady said. And then the old lady kind of realizes this, and she's like, "Oh, these these kids are gonna die because of what I said." She's like, "No, use your fire magic." And then the girl's like, "Okay."
Yeah, I mean, it was a very quickly resolved character arc, I think.
Yeah, I didn't gain anything from watching the episode. That's the thing. I mentioned this earlier to you when you showed up today.
Yeah.
I was like half falling asleep the entire episode.
That's a good endorsement for this, by the way.
I watched it today? No, I watched it last night.
I was gonna say I don't know.
So I was watching it last night. It wasn't even late, but I watched a little bit of anime last night, and then I was watching this one. I just kept like, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm watching this. And then towards the end, when they started like the demon thing, I was like, okay, I stayed awake for the whole rest of it. But yeah, I mean, like I didn't gain. That's like her character building episode, but I didn't feel like her character was built at all.
Yeah, we got a little bit about her mom and how the greater your power, the more sadness there can be, and things like that.
Yeah, we got a little bit about her being a dumbass and not being trusted with money. So then at the end, when they get more money, it no longer goes to her.
And she's got this whole like my fire magic is to protect people, burns down an inn.
Yeah.
And then she demonstrates, she actually has really good control over it with these very controlled fire strikes. It's like, why the fuck didn't you do that before, bitch?
Yeah, it was like a filler episode just with a little bit of her character arc. I assume we're probably gonna get one for Roy.
I mean, I'd hope so. I mean, I feel like she was probably the character I cared about the least.
I hope for Roy's we get a little bit better of like something that's a little bit better done. To be fair, it is really hard to give us give us a lot of character information in one episode. Normally, some character arcs take a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we did see something with him where he was selling off the dagger.
Yeah, he had like a fancy ass dagger, and he was asking the guys like, "Oh, how much for this?" And then he comes at the end with a bag of money, so he must have sold it to get money for the party.
Yeah, my big question is like, was that his? Did he steal it?
He's a thief-like character, so
that's my question. But he also fights right in the vanguard, so I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we'll find out when we get his episode.
Well, let's hope.
Yeah, nothing crazy with the episode. King's Raid is one of the ones that I didn't start by liking, and some of the episodes have made me like it more.
It's grown a little bit, but it definitely could be doing better.
Yeah, once again, no dark elves at all in the episode.
Yeah.
I'm missing my dual perspective that I wanted, which kind of sucks.
Maybe we'll get a couple episodes dedicated just to them.
I hope so. I don't know if this is going to be a 13 episode anime. If it is going to stretch for like a 25, I have no like precedence about any. I don't really know what studio does it to know if they've, what they typically do.
Because I mean, we're 6 episodes in, and we don't even have the second seal open.
Yeah, no, they're not even in the area for the second seal yet. There's still a lot. And
so if we assume that they're going to end the season with him opening the seal, we're probably getting a 25 episode.
Yeah,
unless they really rush the last 2.
Yeah, maybe before next week I'll do a little research, see if there's any confirmation how long. Sometimes even like if they have like an official Wikipedia page for the anime, it says how many episodes they're estimated to do, and even comes up sometimes with like their dates of release.
Yeah, I mean this information is probably out there. We just haven't done the research. So.
As most information is out there, and we haven't done the research. Yeah, just honestly, I was also sleepy, but yeah, it was kind of a boring episode. It was a little bit putting me to sleep. I didn't want. Sometimes like you really got to know when to put filler episodes in. One of my favorite examples is One Piece. Some of my favorite episodes in One Piece were like after they finish like a 100 episode arc, and then there's like 10 full filler, like a little filler episodes of like. There's always the one where then they find out what their new bounty is after the last 100 episodes you saw, and those are like my favorite episodes because the anime knew it's like, oh, you're tired, you've just watched a lot of exhausting plot. Here's some filler, and it's done well. Yeah. But it's not. It's like we've seen like one episode of action, and then you put a filler episode in. It's like a little early.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. There's some shows that overdo it. I mean, I think Bleach and Naruto were guilty of this at a few points. Where
when I watched Naruto Shippuden for a second time, it wasn't when the anime was done. It was just sometime midway through in like the 200s. I literally went to a list that was like, here's the episode watch list without fillers, and then I watched that because I was like, I'm not watching fillers again. Like,
yeah. I mean, if you use them well, it can definitely pace out a series and give you a little bit of a downtime between those major arcs to give you more of a appreciation for them. But I feel like a lot, especially this season, a lot of shows are doing like a very, very small action arc and then a lot of filler.
Yeah, like I would consider this episode filler, and it's only episode 6. That's far too early.
Yeah, especially if you're only going to be getting a 13-episode series.
The animes that need fillers are animes that are long series. Like long series with long episodes are the ones that have fillers there for when people are kind of tired out of the plot or they need a break before starting the next one. Yeah. But to put something in... Now, I guess people would argue it's not filler, it's character building, but... I mean,
it's a character most people don't seem to care about.
Yeah, they could have had character building in the plot. Like they're obviously going to do that with Castle. All of his character building episodes are going to be like during plot and something that's focused. But like if they're just going to take these side characters and only give them non-related episodes to build up their character, then that's not exactly character building done right.
Yeah, this is like when Naruto focused on 1010 or something like this.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I know more about her now. I don't care.
Yeah, but there were some characters, like whenever they were building up Rock Lee's, for instance, like character, they put it in like important times and things that matter. That's why people really to this day are still like, you're going to find people like Rock Lee's my favorite character. Like, you know, no one who's going to come out and be like, oh, I liked Fire Bitch from King's Raid. It was my favorite character because that one episode where she lit stuff on fire. Yeah. Like, I'm sure there's someone, but it's going to be far less likely than when you have a good cast of characters done.
Yeah, it was too hastily resolved. Like, I almost would have liked for her just to get like a different spell or something like that, instead of having her just go, okay, I'll use fire.
Yeah, I think that just having like them be travel companions for like a while, and you know, throwing in like up until this episode, I liked her more up until this episode because it was just like you're seeing small little parts of her character each episode, which is fine on like a traveling companion one. You don't need to stop to give us one full episode of just her. It's just unnecessary to me. Just each episode have her a little bit in there, making some comments so we can slowly learn what she's all about.
Yeah, you can sprinkle in character development. It doesn't have to be a dedicated arc.
It felt too forced to me, which is why I was falling asleep. Hopefully next week, as I said, I wouldn't mind a Roy backstory because I'm kind of curious about him, but I'd like his to be done slightly better because I like him more. And I definitely don't think they should just go right from her backstory into his backstory. You know, get us some more plot, get to the place where the seal is, that kind of stuff, and either fit his backstory in naturally, or if you're going to do the exact same thing again, at least don't put it right next to it.
I mean, there's even just better ways to do it, like having a character run into someone from their past, or like a very direct challenge to their character.
Yeah.
As opposed to she just uses fire carelessly, and there's a woman who doesn't like that.
Yeah, she didn't grow at all by the end of the episode.
Yeah, I mean,
she didn't get any better by the end. She was the beginning.
I mean, we saw that she tried not to use fire, but she doesn't know how to prioritize.
But even that would have just been irresponsible if she didn't use fire. If she let her friends and at this point, Castle is like the hope of the world. If she lets everyone die because she's like, I don't really want to offend this old lady, then she's also just being dumb. That's not very pragmatic at all.
It would have almost been better if she just used the fire and said, I know you hate this, but I can use it correctly.
Yeah, if she was the one who made the decision, you know, both that old lady having to be like, no, use your fire. If she just like uses the fire and she's like, I'm sorry, she's like, but I have to for my friends, and she's like, the old lady's like, I understand, you know, like you're like that would have been better character development. But whatever, wasn't done great. Hopefully in the future we get a little bit better. I'm really praying for my boy Roy to get, you know, treated a little bit better. Yeah, because I like him more.
He almost seems like the nanny of the group.
Yeah, and more importantly, when they're handling backstory, I would like some good backstory for my Dark Elf friends, because right now we're not getting enough.
I mean, we just don't have anything for them at this point.
Yeah, like every time I see the ending where it's obviously the Dark Elf leader brother and his sister and stuff like that, and they're in the fire crying, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for the backstory. I'm ready for it. We've gotten most of Castle's backstory now, or at least to an extent. I still think that there's some lying going on.
Oh, yeah.
But like we've gotten his backstory. I was like, now I'd like to see my other character's backstory.
Yeah, we don't need to see every village on the way.
Yeah.
Cut to the Dark Elves for a while, then just have them arrive at the York Village.
Yeah, exactly. Like we don't need to see the travel time. We just need to, you know, they could even like sometimes you can mention stories that like we didn't see, and it's kind of like fun in like a some sense where it's like, oh yeah, when we ran into those freaking demons back there, like without us seeing them, I'm like, okay, if they do that, it's handled right. But yeah, cut to the other perspective. I want more Dark Elf.
Yeah, especially this is something that's based on a video game. We don't need to see every goddamn grind fight.
Yeah, especially because the fighting animation in the show is not anything special.
Yeah,
it's not like, oh, I can't wait to see. Just
it's not bad.
He's just big sword slashing.
Yeah, I mean, the really negative part of me wants to say that they're scrambling just to come up with an orc design that isn't generic.
They're like, oh, we need to stall this out.
Yeah. Like especially with things like I know Wizards of the Coast are redoing orcs and all that, and their lore. So I'm like, they're not trying to stall this shit out to see the official results, are they?
I really hope. I feel like it's anime, and they're gonna go with like cool orcs. You know, they're gonna go with the strong orcs.
I mean, I hope so, but I mean, are we gonna
like the jacked, handsome orcs though?
Something more like
the slime,
reincarnated slime.
Yeah, something like that line maybe.
Just the big jacked hobgoblins.
Yeah. We can pray. I feel like they have to show us them in the next 2 episodes, though.
Yeah, unless we get the Dark Elf arc.
Which I'd be okay with. That's fine. And then they just skip to them arriving at the mountain or whatever it is for the orcs. That would be the best way to do it. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully next week we get something good and we don't get the Roy backstory. Next up on the list, probably one of the ones people are most looking forward to is Jujutsu Kaisen, Episode 6.
After Rain.
I'm trying to think of in which context that makes sense. After rain, implying that it's something that came after rain.
I mean, was it raining when he died?
No.
Okay.
It was not raining when when he died. It was not raining when the other characters were sad about his death at like the altar.
They didn't even do that, like the Full Metal Alchemist.
The crying and it's like, oh, it must be raining out.
Yeah.
I still use that to this day sometimes.
I know you do.
But yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching this, you might have seen me playing with my phone. That's because I saw this written down here. I'm like, that can't be it.
Yeah, I don't know. I like one of the main reasons that we started saying the episode names is sometimes it's kind of fun comparing them to like, oh, where did that come in? You know, so the naming of something sometimes is very important. So I'm like, oh, where did that name come into this? But this is one of the only ones this week I can't really. I don't comprehend yet, which maybe it's so deep I just don't see it. But
yeah, because I mean, it wasn't raining in like the innate realm. It wasn't raining when he died. It wasn't raining when he came back.
Yeah, there was no. Like I don't unless they mean like even then I can't really rain being tears like this is after the tears of their dead friend who's back but
I think that's what they're going for because it's specifically spelled like rain like falling rain not even like
not
the
like the rain yeah I don't know maybe I don't know the answer to that. If you're watching this and you know the answer to the episode title, if we're missing something deep, that's good.
We're gonna just be told it was raining when he died. We're just idiots.
Yeah, we just missed it. Obviously, we knew it was happening based off the last episode. It starts the exact same way the last episode ends. Yeah. It's, Sukuna sitting on his throne in his weird-looking world. Yep. And then Itadori comes in, and he's like, hey, where are we? So he's like, is this like, what does he say? Is this like the afterlife, or is this hell?
Yeah.
Or something like that. He's like, no. He's like, this is just me. Yeah. And then, we get some plot that's definitely going to have some importance later. He's like, hey, I'll revive you. He's like, I'll heal your heart, bring you back. You just have to make like a condition with me. Yeah. And then he's like, nope, not doing it. And then he tries to fight him. He gets a good hit in. He does some cool tricksy stuff, but he still gets, kind of his ass kicked.
Well, even then, like, he doesn't get a hit in until after he starts to make a deal with Sukuna. Like, everything up to he pulls a couple cool tricks. Mm-hmm. The Sukuna's is like, no, and just bitch slaps him.
Yeah, so then he keeps saying no. Sukuna's like, oh, like, the condition's easy. He's like, you just, like, I'll revive you. He's like, and then you have to, like, at one point, I get to take over your body for 1 full minute.
If he chants the word extension, he gets control for 1 minute.
He gets 1 minute, and one of the parts of the deals is that Itadori also forgets this deal. Yeah. And then Itadori's like, oh, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And he's like, not. And he, like, comes in for, like, a punch because he's like, I don't trust you to take over. And he's like, okay, fine. He's like, I'll even make the promise that I won't hurt or kill anyone in that 1 minute. Yeah. Now, which I 100% believe. I believe his conditions, like, as he kind of extends too, he's like, this isn't just like a promise. This is like, it's a pact. Like, it's a contract as soon as they make this deal. But what does he want for 1 minute that would also not involve him hurting or killing anyone?
I mean, it could just be him getting more fingers. It could be him trying to come up with a way that he doesn't have to give the body back.
Yeah, but with 1 minute, depending on, I guess he gets to look at where he is in specific spots. And one of the other things that very implied is that Sukuna is very interested in his friend still.
He found something that wasn't boring.
And that's because, like, we didn't get to see what it was, but he was about to use a power that he thought was strong enough to beat that. And then even later, the friend's like, hey, he thinks I'm strong enough to beat special grades, so I must be. So it's like a confidence thing now for him. He's like, now I'm going to train so I can do it, because Sukuna basically implied that I'm strong enough to beat special grade objects, or special grade curses. But yeah, and then, the condition's made, and then Itadori's still like, no, I don't care, even though, he explains that the pact, it's like binding and he won't hurt or kill anybody. Itadori still says no. And then he's like, okay, how about this? He's like, we fight. He's like, if I win, you take the deal. And if you win, I'll heal you without the deal. And Itadori's like, yeah, dude, I'm down for that.
And cut to black.
Yeah, and then he just like, and then Itadori's head just gets cut in half, basically. Yeah. And then and then he wakes up. Yeah.
Yeah, which, I mean, as the revival arc goes, I'm glad they did drag it out.
Also, what I think what we guessed is probably what's going to happen too, where we guessed that he'd be revived, but he wouldn't be instantly reintroduced back to his friends. Yeah. That he was going to wait till the competition and come in as like a surprise, being more powerful.
Correct.
Which seems like exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, he's I can't remember what his name is, but the sensei specifically said,
I keep thinking it's Gajao, something like that, or it's something very close to the stupid fish things from Monster Hunter, which is what always confuses me.
I keep thinking Kakashi just because that's what he looks like.
He's very much Kakashi.
But yeah, he's just like, yeah, no, I'm going to bring you back at the tournaments, but we're just going to work on your power control until then, because you can already beat the shit out of most people. He's
like, compared to the teammates, because we're seeing the teammates also be trained, and their senpais are basically being like, hey, you guys all suck in close combat. You guys suck at like melee fighting. And then the opposite, then we see the sensei talking to him, and he's like, hey, like, you don't need any work when it comes to like close combat fighting. He's like, but you need to be able to control your curse power, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we get to see his training arc. It's a very interesting training arc.
Yeah.
It's also filled with a shit ton of references.
It is.
My favorite is when he is just lying on the floor, like squirming around because he thought he was going to be like taught like a secret technique, and he mentions like he's like, oh, I thought I was going to get my Rasengan or my Kamehameha or my Bankai, or like he's just going through all the different references.
Just like let's list off every major Shonen Jump series here.
Yeah, literally all he has to do is he basically just has to hold the little doll and watch a bunch of movies, and he has to constantly be putting curse energy into it while his emotions are going through a bunch of different emotions, right? Like the movies are supposed to make him angry, happy, sad, all that kind of stuff. To be able to control your curse power while you're feeling any emotion. Because obviously we've seen him use it once while he was fighting the special grade curse, which he even mentioned. Yeah. But that was just because he was like extremely mad, almost dead. It was like a fight or flight kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it was more fear than anything. That shit, I'm about to die emotion.
Exactly. So, but now he has to be taught to be able to use it while any emotion's going on. So that's his training. And if he messes up at all, if he stops putting in the same amount of curse energy, the little doll punches him in the face.
Yeah, which they have a weird thing with these little dolls, don't they?
It's the principal's power. It's his curse.
I know, but I don't know. I find shows like this always tend to go with at least one of these categories, and I guess the creepy cute doll thing is theirs. So
listen, maybe they're getting ready for some merchandise to roll out.
I think that's it, and that's the sad thing.
But yeah, so that's his power. That's pretty much all he's doing for for that episode. There is the one point where the sensei does specifically ask, like, "Hey, did you have to make a deal or anything to get revived?" And he's like, He's like, that kind of rings a bell, but I don't remember anything.
We talked about something, but
he's like, the sensei's like, okay. He's like, I don't know.
Well, shit.
And then, one of the other points of view we get to, other than his friends are training, but nothing extremely special happens with them.
I mean, there was one thing with, oh God, what's his name?
Dark Panda.
Not him.
Okay.
The dark hair guy.
The spiky hair guy? Yeah. Sasuke? Starts with an M. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. I know that they're talking about him almost creating a storage space. He starts going into his shadow. It's like, ooh.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's like sitting down. He puts his hand on the concrete, and then this is at the same time where he's like, oh, I can beat special grade objects. He's like, I have some sort of power, and then he like pushes his fingers through a little bit. Yeah, that's about how much they show of their training. Other than the girl just getting tossed around by Panda, it just goes like him like swinging her around, tossing her.
Yeah, they do like the one senpai just like, what do you do with all your extra weapons? She's like, oh, I have the Panda carry them. It's like, really?
Yeah. Because that's what she says that she uses at least. Like she's like, oh, I use 2. You have to be able to use at least 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then one of the other perspectives is we see still the evil guy. We're assuming it's some sort of Jujutsu or something like that. Still talking with like the curses, and they're once again the two. He basically said the 2 different conditions for winning against them was either you have to get Itadori on your side, and you have to like kill this guy. You have to kill the sensei because he's like the strongest one. And he's like, okay, and then like you get to see the one guy's power. He's just burning everyone alive.
Yeah,
just
spontaneous
slowly.
human combustion.
Yeah, like it's getting hot. He's like, oh, you have to calm your emotions. It's getting too hot in here. And then he starts burning everybody. And he's basically like, oh, like how powerful am I? Like in fingers, like. And he's like, oh, I'd say you're about 8 fingers or so.
Yeah, was it that high or?
I think so. Yeah,
I thought it was like 5 or 6. But...
No, I think it was 8, which would make sense though, because this guy literally is gonna go fight the one guy. He has to pose some sort of threat, so he's got to be pretty strong. Yeah. He said about 8 or so, and then he's like, "Oh, I'll go kill this guy then." And then the end of the episode, obviously, he's the sensei is on his way. I think it's a meeting, right, with like the higher ups. I think.
Yeah, I think he's going specifically to meet the principal. So.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah, so he's on the way to the meeting, and then he stops the driver, and he's like, "Oh, like I'm gonna get out of here, continue on." And the guy's like, "Oh, is this a test? Are you gonna punch me if I drive away?" He's like, "No." He's like, "Just do it."
It's like, what do you think I am?
Yeah. So the guy drives away, and that's exactly then the fire curse just kind of hops down. And that's obviously leading up to a fight the next episode.
Yeah, they did talk about him having what was it called? Something prison. It's a cursed object he was given.
Oh, it was like a cube prison or something.
Yeah.
To like lock him away. So I mean, it's pretty early on. I wasn't expecting something like that very soon. But then again, it will kind of remind me of early Naruto, because as we've mentioned before, the show is a very big mix between like Naruto and Bleach.
Yeah, it's got the Bleach aesthetic with the Naruto pacing. So.
Now it's a little bit different, but even early on in Naruto, one of the first arcs is the Zabuza Haku arc. One of the first fights is where obviously Kakashi's, their team sensei really strong, but he gets captured in the water prison. And it has to be then his his pupils at the fight to try and get him out and kind of.
Yeah. If I find out that the guy who did Naruto did this, I'm gonna be kind of upset.
There's no way. There's no way. It's just so similar. I think it's just.
What, you think he's too busy with Boruto? You think that's taking
with
a lot of his
with all
time?
the skill going into the Boruto writing, there's no way he could multitask.
There's a Boruto fan right now writing hate mail to us.
The thing is, and I mentioned this before about Boruto, if there's just kids right now getting into anime and they didn't watch Naruto and they're just watching Boruto, I'm sure it's as good as Naruto was when you first watched Naruto. But if you've watched all of Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, you just don't need Boruto. There's just no reason for it.
It's the fanfic episodes.
Yeah, I assume it's more of like if I was like a father and I just finished Naruto Shippuden and then Boruto come out and I had like an 8-year-old son, I'd be like, here you go, son. You may watch Boruto. And then one day, like Star Wars, you'll be like, now watch the prequels, and then you'll go back to regular Naruto and Naruto Shippuden.
Dad, why is the animation so bad?
Why
is everything square?
You disappointed me again, son.
Why isn't he using Rasengan?
But yeah, it's just it's so similar that I'm gonna always compare some of the plot lines, but it's still definitely one of the most hype ones currently on this season. Probably one of the ones people are most looking forward to.
Yeah, we are seeing more of that new generation shonen going on where the pacing is actually pretty good.
Yeah, and that's what even the fights that have happened so far, they're not fights that take multiple episodes. They're normally something that starts and finish in the same one.
Yeah, it's very concise. It's very well done. So they're not dragging everything out.
I'm too old for like 10 episode long fighting arcs now. The only thing I'll accept in it is One Piece because, One Piece has been around for so long that it's too late to change their ways.
They're kind of grandfathered in at this point.
Yeah, but for new things that come out, I want the pace to move a lot quicker. So I like when something, they get to the fight halfway through the episode and then maybe either it finishes that episode or it finishes the beginning of the next one.
Yeah, we might get like episode and a half fights, but they're not going to drag out entire arcs in a single battle.
Yeah, so next episode I feel like is mostly going to be the sensei's fight with that curse, mixed in with a quick flash to the other one's training. Maybe there's a chance that like... Itadori or something like that senses it or who goes out to try and find like he does something, he also shows up to help out. There's definitely a possibility of that.
I mean, we know he's going to get his power control from something other than the movies.
Yeah, well, I feel like it might even just be a sense to test it out before he goes into the actual tournament. Yeah, but I am excited for the tournament arc though. I'll say that. I always like Chunin exams. Come on, it's just the Chunin exams.
I mean, yeah.
Obviously, because we're going to get to see other schools, and at the same time, first years aren't typically allowed, but their first years are allowed. So it's going to be the classic, like, oh, look at these. They're letting first years in. This school sucks. They're so weak. But then,
and then one of them's get nails through their hands. And
yeah, like that's, I mean, we don't know exactly how she's supposed to fight.
Yeah, it's like don't kill them. It's like the only thing we've seen her do is murder people with curses and stab things with nails.
That's why now she's learning close combat. Now we've seen her be thrown around.
Yeah, now we're
going
to see her beat people with a hammer.
Yeah, maybe. I am excited for that arc, though. But yeah, first, before we get that, we got to get through this whole fight with the fire curse.
Which, I mean, I am looking forward to that as well.
Because I could definitely see something like the Naruto arc going where he gets caught in this prison cube, and then but Itadori shows up in time, has to fight this thing, and then, and then he breaks him out of the thing. And that's like he's now proved that he's like ready for the fight. Like he's controlled his, curse energy or something like that.
Which would definitely be a good way to do it, so...
Yeah, that's my prediction. I think that next episode it's almost entirely going to be just the fight between the sensei and the other guy, and then a couple flashbacks of them training, maybe or not flashbacks, a couple like what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, not a flashback, but a flash to the other characters.
Yeah, cutaway or video.
Yeah, like a cutaway to the other characters training, and then I think we're gonna get a hint in the episode of then Itadori sensing something's wrong. Being like, oh, where like, oh, he's been a while since he's come back, or like he's gonna do something to eventually lead him into getting to that fight somehow. Yeah, would be my guess. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, good episode overall. Jujutsu is definitely one of the ones I think most people are really enjoying this season, just based off what I've seen from people.
It was a pleasant surprise. You never know with shonen, and this one's definitely living up to the hype. So
yeah, so it's enjoyable. We'll be talking about this one constantly. I'm pretty sure until the show ends, which could be a long time.
Let's hope.
I'm assuming it's going to be something that even when I think it's at most going to take like a 1 or 2 season break. Like I don't think we'll be waiting years between any seasons because there's enough manga content now that it should go on for quite a while.
I mean, that is true, but I mean, that's one of the things with modern shonen. They are taking more breaks now, so they don't catch up as quickly. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to get that huge gap where they're waiting for a nice block of manga to get put out. So
yeah, we'll have to wait and see though. So that was Jujutsu Kaisen episode 6. Yep. And the very last thing on our list is Fire Force Season 2, Episode 19.
Yep. This one is the Oze family.
Okay, makes sense. I'm going to start by saying that, once again, episode's kind of boring. It was very filler, 2 filler episodes in a row. Now, I think that this one at least obviously led to the semblance of what the next and probably last plot of the season is going to be.
Yeah.
Just like season 1, the characters are entering the Nether.
Yeah. If the last episode was cooldown, this one is build up.
Yeah. The last one was cooldown. This one's warm up. Yeah, it's just like the second half of it was leading into the plot, which is where the characters are teaming up with the 2nd Division to go into the Nether on an exploration.
Yeah, which they specifically said they're going to split up the 8th and put one member into each part of the 2nd so they can do it as kind of a uniform strike.
Yeah, the 2nd is very much like the military part of the fire force.
Yeah, so we are going to see Juggernaut again.
Yep. And then we're going to see some of his teammates and friends. So some new characters, some new wacky powers, I'm sure, about to be introduced.
I wonder how bullshit the fire connection is going to be with these ones.
Probably all extremely bullshit. One of them is going to have water power somehow. By just like heating
we've
up.
already seen ice powers.
Yeah, I guess that's true. We have seen that. Yeah, I mean, but fire is even farther away from water than ice.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
So, have we seen electricity? I'm sure we've seen electricity.
Yeah, Plasma Girl, like mind control.
Yeah, I guess. I'm just thinking like thunderbolts,
we've seen her travel by thunderbolt.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't even think of something wackier than what we've already seen. That's the difficulty now, is we've seen so much crazy shit.
Well, I mean, that's because we're still thinking with fire. Like, they're just taking something, they're just finding a connection that they can use to make it fire.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to fight with dolls. Like, how the hell is that fire? It's like...
Yeah, fire dolls.
It's like, I have radiation powers. It's like, wait, what?
So I'm sure we'll see some wacky shit from some of the members.
I mean, we are kind of skipping over the fact that one of the earlier powers that was introduced is stealing heat from the expansion of the universe.
That's true, but we're also looking over the fact that we don't know what the fuck Juggernaut is still. He's got some weird shit going on with his body that maybe now will be explained.
Just a big ass hole in his chest. It's like, don't worry, my body's not there. It's like, what?
Then where is your body, Mr.
If it turns
Juggernaut?
out like that whole thing was just a robot, I'm going to be kind of pissed.
Yeah, I'm assuming we'll find out when he gets his fight with. A lot of it's probably going to be a member of Squad 2 mixed with a member of Squad 8 doing some sort of like dual fight. So we'll have to see. I don't know if Shinra will be teamed up with Juggernaut. Maybe it'll be like...
I feel like it'll be Maki.
You think so? No, well, Maki's not there.
Not Maki. Tamaki.
Tamaki, exactly.
I hate that their names are so close.
That's who he wants to be teamed up with, too.
I feel like Juggernaut called her Maki-chan.
Maybe.
And she didn't like that because it made her think of Maki.
I don't know.
But that might just be me being insane.
I feel like he's either being teamed up with her or he's being teamed up with Shinra.
It'd be one of those
I think that
two.
Shinra might be teamed up with the spiky hair friend they showed of his, though. That would be my guess.
They look like the best match. Again, we don't know what his power is.
Yeah, but I feel like there's going to be something with his personality which kind of either conflicts with Shinra's or gets along with him really well. It's just
he's either going to be I'm going to be a hero too guy, or he's like, if you want to be a hero,
there are
you're
no
stupid.
fucking heroes, man. Yeah.
Oh, God.
But yeah, that's so that second part's fine. That's the warm up, just like season 1. I feel like they're ending the season with a Nether arc. That's obviously how season 1 ended. Eventually meeting up with Shinra and Sho in an epic fight. I don't know who Shinra's going to be fighting in an epic fight in this one. Could be Sho again, for all we know.
I feel like it's going to be, oh my God, what's her name? Something Aztec. The tracing bitch.
The tracing bitch.
The new pillar.
The pink haired one?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's not Ilsa. It's something along those lines. I swear I could remember last week. I can't remember this week for some reason.
I know that's what's actually bugging me. I feel like it's something. Every time I hear it, makes me think it's something Aztec, and
I guess the issue is that Shinra would so easily kick her ass, but that's assuming that he gets the blessing at some point. He would just absolutely wreck her.
Yeah.
The only person I feel like that would be even with would be Sho if he has the blessing. But a lot of times too, he probably isn't gonna get the blessing, which is gonna make the fights harder.
Yeah, because I still don't know why he got the blessing in the first place.
I don't know, unless they're like, hey, this will be a fun contest between brothers. I'm gonna give him the blessing because he's way too OP when he has it. That the only character who could maybe even slightly evenly match him would be Sho with his power.
Well, actually, I mean, I guess the evangelist isn't the person in the plant, is it?
No.
So I think it was the person in the plant who gave him the blessing the first time. So.
Well, then they could do it again. Yeah, well, I mean, that's true. They also they had a lot of fun with him early on in the season, right? Like taking over his body in like a sense.
Yeah,
so
true.
That'll probably get more plot, I'm sure.
That was kind of a big thing not to do more than once. So.
But the first part of the episode was very filler in a sense, where it was just about Maki's backstory. We obviously knew early on that she was part of the military, and then the lieutenant basically convinced her to join there instead. He said that she wasn't really built for the military, and she kind of agreed. She didn't really like hurting people so much. She wanted to help people instead.
Which he brought her out of the military into the 8th, and then he told her to go back.
Yeah, which I mean, so it starts off with her going back home. She gets a nice dinner with her family.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. We could see her father. We could see her brother and her mother. They're all kind of similar in a sense. Her and her father, in ways they kind of like the dual personalities. The really sweet, cute personality, and then like the gorilla ogre personality.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Her brother was like the only one who seemed normal, because even the mom at some point was all really nice, and then she just went like mad ape shit for a second when they weren't listening to her.
But even then, the brother, like when he was talking to his girlfriend, he just went like super sweet baby talk. It's like,
that's true, but at least he didn't. His was just like super sweet baby talk, or like normal guy at least.
I mean, we don't know that though.
Maybe he has an even more one. But yeah, the basic plot is he is part of the military as well. Which I always have this question: what does the military do that the other people don't do? Because they have a police force, they have a firefighter division, they have the special firefighter division, and they have the military, though there's no other countries to have a war with. Up until this season, it was implied that there was nothing else other than Tokyo. And then this season, they're like, hey, China. There's some China left. Why don't you guys go visit that?
Yeah, but even that's almost like it's almost like an outpost. It's like they sent some people over there and they're managing to live.
Yeah, but what is the military's main job in real life? That would be, something along the lines of defense or attack against other countries.
Yeah, I mean, if you boil it down to its most basic elements, it'd be national defense at its
because the only thing we've even seen in this episode that the military did is there was him and one other partner that went down to investigate something, which does not sound like something the military would do. That sounds like something either the Special Fire Force or even the police would do. So it's just kind of like, I don't understand the point of the military.
I almost feel like they're just like extreme SWAT units.
I mean, maybe, but I feel like then they would just have even more special firefight forces based off what we've seen. So yeah, that kind of made me once again question what the military does. But they go down, they find an evangelist lab. It has some of the bugs there.
Yep.
And then a guy basically just suicide bombs. One of the white clad comes out, suicide bombs. Maki's brother hops in the way, takes more of the blunt force to save his partner, and he gets injured. And they say it'll take a few months to recover.
Which, I mean, it does beg the question, like, was this guy waiting for them, or...
I feel like there was just something important in the lab. Maybe it was like the development of the bugs. Like maybe they're not just natural creatures.
I mean, yeah, they probably aren't. But
yeah,
I mean,
so
does he always wear the bomb belt then?
Yeah, just in case.
Because I feel like, especially with fire powers, that could go very, very badly.
It could, but I assume it's like the cyanide stuff. You got to always be ready to die.
Sure.
So yeah, like obviously the lab gets destroyed. The only reason to do that is to hide some sort of evidence or something important, which then starts the whole next part of the plot where they have to go down to the Nether to investigate something weird's going on. So filler episode, definitely the first half. It ends with Maki being sad. She's back to being like a desk receptionist because as she explains, she's like a bird in a cage because her father doesn't want her in danger. We already know she's gonna just freaking ignore that.
Leave.
She's gonna ignore that, and she's gonna go down to the Nether to find them.
Like, I seriously doubt they're trying to write Maki out of the story at this point, unless they're gonna like just replace her with a similar character.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think this is whole just a point of like, she already followed the order to go back too easily when you would have thought she would have argued or fought against it, but now it's just gonna be she's gonna leave there and then she's gonna come back into and like try and save someone who's inside the Nether or something.
Yeah, she's going to hear that they're like trapped or they're losing the fight. She's going to go, well...
Or she's going to get in a fight with her father in the next episode, and then she's going to beat him to prove that she's stronger, and then she's going to go.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think the big thing with this was that the lieutenant specifically told her to go back.
Yeah, but I mean, even she knew that was because like she's like, oh, he's worried about me. He thinks I'm not strong enough, kind of thing. So I think then her going and kicking her dad's ass will promote herself to be like, hey, I am strong.
I mean, the big question for me is like, I'm pretty sure she could snap him in half.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's what we've seen. We've seen all the different characters she's fought, and she's one of the stronger ones on the team, especially just in pure strength.
Yeah, in terms of raw hand-to-hand combat.
I'm expecting a not even firepower fight between her and her dad, just like a pure jacked hand-to-hand combat fight.
Did they establish if her dad had fire powers?
They have not established, but they typically go down in family. So
do they?
Well, I think so.
I don't think they've actually talked about it being genetic.
I guess I could just kind of assume that based off the generation, the terminology they use for fire powers.
Well, it's generation, but that just refers to what type of pyrokinetic they are.
But even like, where would they have come up with that name? You think that name would have been based off some sort of family tree? How many like the fire powers they've had, or something along those lines?
Because I mean,
that's just more of a guess, but
yeah, because first generations are just able to make fire. Mm-hmm. Second generations can just control fire,
but not make fire.
And then
third generations can do both.
Yeah, usually in some bullshit way.
Yeah, like ice and tuba ice. And
I think that's second generation actually.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what they think he's a third, but he just uses his weird tuba instrument to change the
Yeah,
frickin'
I am a
shit
bell.
into
Your
the
fire triggers the
carbon.
ice. It's like, wait, what?
His power is probably the dumbest if you just look at it in like out of context. Like he's got a tuba, he's got a bell, he makes heat into ice. You're like, what?
I mean, it's not even a tuba. It's a freaking French horn, isn't it?
I don't know. It's not a tuba. It's probably a French horn. I'm not a music master, okay? But either way, he does dumb shit. But yeah, I mean, the episode wasn't bad, but once again, after the last episode, which was almost entirely filler, this one, even just having the first half, and like I don't the whole like Maki going back to the military storyline, to me, no one actually believes it's happening, so I just don't know if it's necessary.
I mean, even then, as a side story, it's kind of weak for this series.
Well, it's a weird place to put it because we know what the big plot is happening now, and I don't really want this plot to be also like clogged down with her little side story going on. When like we're getting to the end of the season, we're getting to the big plot. Like we're getting to something has to happen with the evangelist, another thing with the pillar maybe, or finally the lady in Amaterasu who's been hinted at all season has to have more effect. And at the same time, we're going to be dealing with a Maki side story.
Yeah, unless something goes down in the military that ties everything together, I think
they're fixing it next episode. I think next episode it's going to be them finally either going down to the Nether or like finishing preparations. And as I said, she's either going to just sneak down and help them out, or she's going to get into like a fight with her dad to prove she is strong enough and be like, I'm not a little bitch anymore, Dad, and then kick his ass. And I think they're going to finish it there. So she's just down with the team again.
I mean, that'd be ideal. But the thing is, if they resolve it that quickly with what's going on in the story, why do it now?
Either way, why do it now? Maki's just not important enough to the main plot to make it necessary to interlude her story with the main arc, to me.
I mean, maybe it's because we haven't really gotten her build up. Like every other character, we've had some sort of motivation built up almost.
But even then, I mean, like if you look at Arthur, he had like half an episode, and then they're like, "That's enough, Arthur. We're good now."
Even Arthur was like, "Your parents sucked, and you're delusional."
Yeah, it was like half an episode, and he was like, "Okay," and then he's like, and he was good. That's all we needed from Arthur.
Yeah. Then you had the lieutenant who was like, "Oh yeah,
your friend died. You
shot him with an unbaptized gun. You felt bad about it, so now you're a firefighter."
Yeah, that's it. It's like Captain Obi. It's like, oh,
yeah, we never really got a strong Obi background.
We got his background of him being a regular firefighter.
Yeah,
and then the Fire Force people were, which I think was I'm trying to remember what squad that was, because he was on scene helping out one of the special Fire Force fighters, and that's where they were making like bets off like who could kill it or how long they could and that kind of shit, and that's why he got pissed and he decided to start his own that like actually cared about the people that turned into infernals, and he wanted to put a stop to it. But I can't remember what Fire Force, what special division that was.
I feel like it was the fourth, but
I don't know. I thought maybe it was the second. I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it to see.
It'd probably be whichever one's under Hajime.
It'd probably be whatever one's the biggest dicks. The third is the guy under Hajime, isn't it? With the Giovanni, I think.
Yeah, I think fourth is Habana.
Yeah.
Or is that
fifth? That's fifth. It's Habana.
Is the fourth the training one?
Is the fourth the old man?
Yeah, so it probably wouldn't be his.
And second is now the military dude. It could be his, but I don't know. He doesn't seem like he's a bad guy.
What was the seventh? Seventh is
Benimaru, isn't it?
Yeah, I was thinking sixth.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and there's still a few that we haven't gotten. The easiest guess would probably be the third, because we know Giovanni's kind of a cock anyway, so that wouldn't be too surprising. But yeah, that was like his backstory. But everyone, other characters have gotten like half an episode, just enough that we know why they're doing this, and that's like enough. Yeah. They kind of, as we talked about earlier, they kind of build their characters through all the episodes whenever they're included, which is done well. But that's why I don't want this Maki thing to drag on for too long. I think that they're going to finish the next episode.
I mean, let's hope.
Think/hope, yes. But yeah, overall, it was just a really big setup episode. There's not tons to say. After this, going to the next 6 episodes, it's going to be a lot more.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I almost feel disappointed in the season of Fire Force.
Yeah, that's it. Now, to be fair, when I watched season 1, after I was like episode like 14 or something like that, to like episode 20 to me was like really boring. That's where I stopped watching. I watched it again like a full year later before this season came out.
True.
But then they got into the last arc where they went to the Nether and he was fighting Sho, and that was like so hype. That actually made it difficult for me to watch the beginning part of season 2, because like it was so up and then so low all of a sudden.
Yeah.
That I was like, oh, this is hard. I want all that hype from the end of season 1 again. So they could really bring it back with the last 6 episodes though.
I mean, true, but even the earlier arc, like when they were dealing with everything in China and the tabernacle.
Yeah.
I mean, the flaming animals and just like the random.
It all felt like it felt really different than season 1 in multiple ways. As I said, they never even mentioned other countries. They implied that like no one else exists, and then all of a sudden, season 2, they're like, oh, but like China's still habitable in some areas though, and then they're like, oh, also these animals have like little fires and they talk, And it's like, what are we watching the same show?
Yeah, and then they're like riding through the area and they're like all high on gas, screaming. It's like, I understand what you're doing, but
I think all we can pray is that the last like 6 episodes are really good and it really pulls the season back in and gets you really hyped for season 3. Which I think they'll do. That would be that'd my guess. I mean, they're going back to the same formula as the first season, obviously going into the Nether for like the last 6 episodes.
Yeah,
which is pretty much exactly the same thing the first season did. And as I said, I really liked the end of that one. So I'm hopeful that they're really going to bring it back here, but we'll have to see. It's definitely the last few episodes we've talked about multiple times with the whole arc with Nataku and his child abuse and that kind of stuff. Those just all handled really bad. So I'd like to see a change and then get back to like just a couple, like 6 really good episodes in a row would just be fantastic.
Yeah, give us like, because I don't even know if we can get the same level of fight we got from the first season.
Like I really, even like when fighting, I really liked the whole like Shinra only like 1 second kind of fight with the that shit was really cool, and I want more of that epic stuff.
That was one high in a lot of lows though.
Yeah, which I'm praying / assuming that we're gonna get that a lot in the last part. It's gonna be Shinra fighting someone. Is it Inca? Is that the girl's name? I think
that's it.
Yeah, it's like it came last second, but I think that we're gonna get to see him just epic fight, or it'll finally be like Karan or whatever the hell his name is.
Oh yeah,
maybe because we've now seen Shinra like fight him a few times and it can't really get past his power.
Yeah,
especially now that we've seen how strong his power is.
Lightspeed would probably trump his power, but
I think that he has to fight one of the pillars. I think that's the only chance.
Yeah, because I mean, we dealt with Show in the first season. There was that whole developing the blessing and getting the Lightspeed powers.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to recapture that, so we have to get a major fight going if we want to.
He could also end up fighting. I don't know how much strength he has left, but he could end up fighting the pillar that's inside Amaterasu. But that would have big implications for season 3.
Yeah, that's if you want to shake up the entire world. I don't think we're at that point.
Yeah, I mean that it's possible just based off how much we've seen her, and obviously a little bit of a. The Tabernacle was like the person in it seemed like a good person. She was trying to help with the animals. She helped out Shinra beat the Inferno, stuff like that. But this lady does not seem so good. There's also this weird connection between her and Iris. So there's a lot to be explained in this last 6 episodes, and that's the kind of plot I'm excited for.
Because here's the thing: we don't know how long the person in. I keep forgetting what it's called.
What?
The where the Adola burst is the power plant.
Amaterasu.
That's it. I don't know why that word just wasn't sticking in my head. We don't know how long she's been in Amaterasu.
We're assuming since it was created.
But
unless they change them out.
Yeah, how long has it been?
250 years.
Yeah, but they were talking about how Vulcan's parents or dad and grandfather worked on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think his grandfather lived 250 years.
No, but for all we know, when you're made into the pillar, there's something that like keeps you alive or something along those lines. We don't know if they. That's probably something maybe we'll find out this season. If like when they're made the pillar, they live for a really long time. But I feel like even with the Tabernacle thing, it's kind of implied that she has been there for a while.
That is true.
Which means like maybe they're in like this weird like not living, not dead state to keep it alive. Or the other option is like they're every 50, 60 years they're making more pillars, like more pillars coming, they're changing them in and out. But I don't think that's going to be it because that makes it a little bit less epic.
Yeah. Well, my whole thing was I was just going to say like there's a chance that she's actually related to Iris somehow.
It's true.
Because Iris was an orphan. We don't know what happened to her parents.
I mean, even if it was from 250 years ago, she still could be related, just on a much deeper bloodline. But I mean, that's never as cool, unless it's like a reincarnation or something along those lines. But if she's not dead, can't be reincarnated.
I mean, she's kind of dead.
But yeah, that's the kind of shit. Those are the answers I'm looking forward to, and I think we're gonna get. And then obviously a really epic fight because Fire Force does have like fantastic animation during their big fights, and that's the shit I want. For everything I've said about this season being kind of let down. The Joker Benimaru crap was so good, and maybe they're going to come into part here too. As I said, we haven't seen them since.
I kind of forgot that was part of this season because I've gotten so focused on all the parts that I haven't.
I mean, it could have been like a spin-off OVA series for all we know. Yeah, it was so different.
It was such its own little contained pocket of information that you could have kind of slotted it in anywhere in the series up until now. It would have worked.
Yeah, so it would have. But I really like that. So hopefully they get back to kind of that style for these last 6 episodes.
Which do you think Benimaru and Joker are going to make an appearance in the final fight in the Nether?
It's possible Joker make an appearance. I don't know about Benimaru necessarily. I don't think they're always teamed up group now. But Joker, I still think has a big part in all this.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely possible he shows up.
Okay.
Either to help or to hinder or something along those lines. Seems like more likely to help at this point, but in like a very roundabout way. He doesn't want to just openly come out and be like, I'm helping you guys. He'll
Yeah, because he was kind of screwing with Shinra at first, wasn't he?
He's a dark hero. We've discussed it. Him and Shinra are like opposites. They have like the same end goal in a sense, but very different ways of getting there. He's chaotic good. Shinra's lawful good. Two different kind of ways to go about things.
Yeah, we are really making a lot of D&D references this episode, aren't we?
Yeah, hopefully you watch D&D if you're watching this. Instead of
hopefully you play instead of just watch it.
Oh yeah, I guess.
Critical Role is great, but you can only watch so much.
That's true. But yeah, that's it for Fire Force. I'm very excited to talk about it next week and the week after. Hopefully we just get a lot of hype stuff. Hopefully next week we come in just like, fuck yeah, Fire Force. So good.
Hopefully.
We can only pray. And that's it for this week's 7 episodes. As I mentioned at the beginning, if there's anything you're watching and you like and you want us to watch, just let us know in the comments. Or even if there's something that you've heard of, something like Attack on Titan, where you heard of a show that's restarting in the next season, let us know, because we need to kind of already start prepping out our list to see how long it's going to be, to see if we can have discussions at the end, that kind of stuff. So let us know. Obviously, you can let us know if you're going to watch Attack on Titan. We're just going to assume everyone is, and we're definitely going to have that. We're going to have that on the list no matter what.
Yeah, or if you've even heard any other announcement trailers or any possible shows that are going to pop up next season, we'd like to
anything that could come out next season that we'd be interested, that you're interested in. That's good to know, because we have to start prepping a list. Figuring out how long our list is going to be, if there's enough time to talk about discussions at the end, or if we're going to have another kind of season like this where it's going to be huge. That kind of shit's important for us to know, and it's just good to know. And then if you watch any part of today's episode on any one of the shows we watched, just leave a comment down below. You can do it like the typical format these days is everyone just kind of says, name of the show and then like what their thoughts about the episode were. You can just talk about one specific thing if you want. Like if you're just here for, Jujutsu, you can just talk about that. If you've watched all of the stuff, you can talk about us, with all the shows that you watched. Or as I said, you can talk about a show that we don't even talk about, and there's a good chance we can even have discussions with you in the comments about those, because we've probably seen them.
Yeah, because even last week we brought up Higurashi because someone brought it up in the comments. So
yeah, as I said, we don't have tons of comments, so it's very easy for us to read them all. So leave us any of your thoughts. Like always, if you guys wouldn't mind subscribing and hitting like and bell notification, all that shit. Don't really like begging for it, but just because how the YouTube algorithm works, we really need comments, likes, all that kind of crap, just to get it pushed out a little bit more.
Yeah, everything helps bring it to more people see it, and it just kind of helps.
Yeah, because right now, pretty much the people who are watching it right now are people who are specifically now always looking for it. We need it to get out, so it's being shown to people who aren't looking for it.
Yeah.
The goal is to find more people to come in. More people means more discussions. They won't just be you and us having discussion in the comments, then you and other people will be able to talk about the shows and stuff like that, which is kind of the goal. So yeah, any way just to kind of get that. And then, leave any tips if there's anything you want to see more of. Like this week, we swapped back just the one camera angle just because of a comment when I asked in, I think 2 weeks ago's video, I said, hey, like, what do you guys think about the 2 camera angles? Like, give us opinions, thoughts. And someone just openly said, like, hey, it looks good, but most of the time I just listen to it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It's a podcast. Podcasts are mainly there to be listened to.
Yeah, true.
So that's why I switched back to the one camera angle, and we're gonna try and put more work into different elements, maybe than just the camera stuff, especially if you're mainly just listening to it. I'm sure eventually we would like just to get out a audio only version on something like Spotify, but we kind of have to see the demand for that first before, because you have to pay for an RSS feed, and there's a couple more intricacies that you have to do when you're doing that.
Yeah, there's a lot more work to it than you'd think.
Yeah, so we just want to see the demand for it first. So if there's anything you want to see in these episodes, like if you want us to have more discussions, not just about these, but about older anime, just about different kind of topics in general, then let us know.
Yeah, something a little bit closer to what we did in our earlier episodes. We didn't have so many shows to go through every episode.
Yeah, exactly. Because even if we're noticing that not a lot of people are in here looking at one of the anime we're talking about, we could remove it from the list, still watch it, but remove it, and give ourselves more time to talk about a broad topic. So just any of opinions you have, just leave them down below. That also comments leads to more people being able to see this episode, which is important. And then other than that, I think that we're all done for the week. Anything else to say?
No, I think that was everything.
Okay, sounds good, guys. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week for episode 10, where hopefully all the episodes are fantastic and crazy good, and we got nothing but good things to say about them.
Let's hope.
Once again, I've been Cam.
I've been Jimmy.
And take it easy, guys. Peace.
Peace.